Season 3 of the Screaming Idiot Show rolls the fuck on as my voice cracks like a little fucking girl. Hope everybody has enjoyed their week. Glad to have you guys back. I think we're on what? Are we on episode 4? Season 3?
It's either 3 or 4.
This is episode like 14 or 15 now?
Well, season 3.
No, season 3.
No, I'm just saying in total.
It's like 15.
Because that's how I label it on the computer.
Oh, yeah, you do it like that. I don't know. It's kind of all run together because, my God, we're putting out a bunch of content, boys. I mean, between the pods, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram.
We just be dropping bangers, baby.
Hey, we're trying to compete and show everybody out there why we're the best metal music podcast on the fucking market. So that's what's up. So we got a guest in studio, and I'm going to let Tyler introduce him, and I'm going to let you take off, boys.
Yeah, so in the house, we have Mitchell T, a.k.a. FearDogg.
What up?
A.k.a. your girlfriend's new boyfriend.
I used to say that
all the time
at the skating rink. It was like a catchphrase, like back in the day.
There's worse catchphrases out there.
I thought it was pretty good. You know what I mean? I've slid it in there a few times myself, and I'm a grown ass man. Like,
that's what they're telling me, anyways.
No, but yeah. So
yeah, I mean, Mitch has been a good friend of mine for a very long time. We have kind of followed each other in this musical journey from kind of the beginning. I mean, we both started in concert band.
Yep.
Doing percussion section and cool. Fucking around with the drums and all of that. And that's where we kind of learned the fundamentals of music.
Literally.
And we developed our friendship through middle school and into high school, and always kind of supported each other in our musical ventures. Mitch kind of went off on a different direction than I did. I went more rock metal, and Mitch is actually a rapper.
Yeah,
more rap, hip hop.
But the first time we ever collaborated, it sounded like some Linkin Park shit. But like,
dude, you remember me like drinking like juice and shit, trying to get a raspy voice?
Jesus Christ. Yeah,
I was like trying to get my voice to sound more raspy, and I was like, what can we do? And I was like drinking like pop and like a bunch of sugary stuff, trying to get like the phlegm built up in my throat so that it would come out like, eh.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then I tried to rap once.
Yeah, and then he rapped on one of my songs.
It was terrible.
And it wasn't bad. Like I thought the way we did it, we layered it with these crazy effects, and like it wasn't bad.
You could polish a turd, but it's still a turd.
Oh yeah.
He turned into T.I. That motherfucker had more auto-tune than T.I.
You mean T-Pain?
Did I say T.I.?
Yeah.
I don't know rap, bro. They're both guys that rap. I don't know.
So yeah, Mitch was in town. He kind of moved away from the area, and he hit me up, said he was in town this weekend. We just happened to have the, booked the session for us to go ahead and record this episode. And so we kind of did an audible, went ahead and had Mitch on. Kind of want to go ahead and start the way that we typically start with all of our guests, and kind of start with your musical journey, where you first started falling in love with music, why it is you listen to the music that you do.
Yeah, so for me, it sort of started in the back of my grandparents' car, listening to Grease.
Okay.
Grease. Why am I not familiar?
You know, the
movie?
The movie soundtrack.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were talking about. Yeah.
And
that's something grandparents would listen to.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like, not just that, like that's just like the first one that comes to mind.
Yeah.
Like being young and stuff. But then, it just shifted because everything my dad listened to was different. Everything my mom listened to was different. So like I just got a lot of different like tastes of like different generations that I didn't even know, what this stuff was, or what when it was
you're a kid in the back seat of a car.
right.
Like,
You don't know when
I don't
it's
know what
from.
this
You
is.
just like it. You
But
just
you're
like
a
it for what it
sponge at
is.
the same time.
Yeah.
Like I remember when I was a kid, you're just a sponge to so much stuff around.
That's
you.
why I got Walker listening to deathcore right now.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
trying to, maybe by the time he's like,
Young.
maybe by the time he's 10, he'll be into like Fallout Boy or something. It's like,
So then it just gravitated towards, okay, now I like, Nelly and,
fucking Nelly, that's my guy.
yeah, and then,
Shit,
Nirvana for sure,
Yeah.
but Dad loved Pearl Jam. Pearl Jam was my dad's
Okay.
favorite band.
Okay.
And, but all grunge, Guns N' Roses, like,
Yeah.
This guy was a big GNR guy when we
Yeah.
were in like middle school.
Yep.
yeah, so
Hey,
just
they slap.
just everything, the Beatles, like just
Oh, so even some older shit. Okay.
yeah, so just everything, basically Elvis, all that shit, and then
Dude, I love
Eminem.
Elvis. Like, I don't even know if these two dudes know this, but like, I just every once in a great while, I will get in a mood and I will like turn on some Elvis. It's just a vibe. Like, I get why he was so incredibly popular back in the 50s and 60s, So yes, I felt that. People listen to the show are probably going, "What the fuck? This is like one of the biggest fucking metalheads out there." I'm like, "Yeah, dude, I listen to it. I love Michael Jackson.
Oh,
Like,
for
like,
sure.
MJ's woo,
And
greatest entertainer in the world, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
He's the greatest entertainer ever. Shut up. You shut up.
period.
I'm not disagreeing.
Shut up, bitch.
Shut up, bitch.
So I'm
thing
the guy
about
that gets
Elvis-
shit on this episode.
You're always shitting on everybody else. It's your turn. Sorry, Mitch. Go
Bam.
ahead, buddy.
Yeah, but the thing about Elvis was, he didn't write his own stuff, but
No.
he just had a really good voice.
Yeah.
And a great stage presence.
Yeah. So
Yes.
I used to discredit him, but then
Mhm.
I kind of was like, you know what?
It's a talent in it.
Yeah.
His voice, he's
Yeah.
got that. God, we're getting on I don't mean to get on this tangent, but wise men say. Like, he makes his voice like flutter. Ooh, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's
Some
crazy.
vibrato.
But
I watched
you know,
Michael Bublé do a video on like how Elvis did what he did, and it's fucking crazy.
But then as I
Enough with that
grew to
tangent,
be a
sorry.
teen, I basically got into like Hollywood Undead and
Cool.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
um,
I remember us jamming that shit a lot.
I used to listen to quite a bit of Hollywood Undead, actually.
yeah.
It was
Just 'cause they
popular
were-
as fuck, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
It
kind of
was
fell
good
off,
jam.
but they're still putting out new music. They
Are
just
they?
kind of feel like the old guys in the scene. And like that punk, like that rap metal kind of shit. They
Yeah.
kind of feel like the old dudes now, which is weird.
Because they are old, bro.
I
Like,
guess,
yeah,
but
they
They
got
were
gray hair
popular
now.
15 years ago.
I mean, are they Fred Durst old?
no,
I didn't think so.
they're not.
Okay.
They're not that old yet.
All right, fair enough. Sorry, Mitch.
Yeah,
I keep cutting you
so
off, brother. I'm
you
sorry.
know, and then it was just like My Chemical Romance, all this Taking Back Sunday, all this stuff.
Oh yeah. Mayday
Punk.
Parade.
So were you
Punk
a punk
rock.
fan, like Sum
Yeah, I was
41,
pretty
Blink-182,
much-
like
Punk and like scene or emo
Okay.
Yeah.
type stuff.
Paramore, Flyleaf?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. You said
You're,
Mayday
aren't
Parade.
you're a big Avril Lavigne fan?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I had a
that's
crush
cool.
on. I had a
Awesome.
crush
Hey, hey.
Oh, didn't we all?
This
Didn't we all?
dude swore he was going to marry that woman. And hey, I swear, one of her jams comes on. I was at the fucking ice cream shop downtown, and one of her songs came on, and I'm singing Avril Lavigne
Tears in your eyes.
in the middle of the ice cream shop
So I like-
with my kids and shit.
I like Orianthe, and
Yeah.
probably because she is an absolutely incredible guitarist, but like her music itself, like I really liked. She was like the metal Avril Lavigne.
You're
Oh,
gonna have
yeah.
to send me some of that because I'm not
Orianthe?
familiar.
Really?
Oh, she
Preston?
can
I've probably
shred,
heard. I
man.
might have heard it, but
What about Evanescence?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
What's
her name?
Man.
Amy
Amy
Lee.
Lee.
Amy Lee, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think they were incredibly popular before they did the collab with Shinedown. Before she did that.
Yeah.
Shit with Shinedown.
But yeah, you got, a lot of that punk going on, as a teenager, that
Sure.
teenage angst. You got to be a punk rock fan when you're
Yeah,
a teenager, man.
yeah.
I was into the emo stuff too. Like,
Yeah.
But when I think of like emo, like to me, what it was back in the day was like Black Veil Brides,
Right.
Asking Alexandria, Attack,
The Used.
crabcore
The
shit.
used. Yep. Yep. The
Yeah,
used.
I was into a lot of those crabcore bands. So I feel you in the sense of the emo side there. The
Yeah.
punk I never really
Well, dude,
got
and
crazy
even
into.
Fallout Boy was great.
They were
man.
emo. I mean, they were
Yeah.
scene.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
for sure. No, and I like Fallout Boy.
Yeah.
I would say that punk has a tremendous influence on modern metal.
Yes.
I mean, it is.
Do you think modern metal in the sense of metalcore, or
There
do
we
you
go.
think
like metal, like
Mitch, we'll
metalcore?
get
I
back
mean,
to-
look,
this is what we do.
the
while we
idea-
riff.
I know.
Look, the idea of like the mix between
And angst,
screaming
yep.
and clean vocals, I'm pretty sure came from punk
Right.
before it came from like, these like old thrash metal bands and stuff
Or
like
like
that.
power metal,
Right.
doom metal, death metal,
So
black metal, all that shit.
punk bands been
Yeah.
doing that.
So-
Early '90s, late '80s, like that's been a thing for a while in the punk realm, and I think some of that kind of bled over into some of these heavier
Here you
metal
go.
bands that. Go
Here's the
ahead.
dictionary definition of metalcore. Our favorite, me and him, at least, me and Preston, our favorite genre or subgenre of music. Metalcore, also known as metallic hardcore, is a fusion music genre that combines elements of extreme metal and hardcore punk.
Fuck yes.
Ding ding
No
ding.
way. That's
Well, I
crazy.
mean,
And,
like
I mean, when you think about it, if
we
you
talk
listen
about
to
hardcore.
we were
Yeah,
jamming the new
yeah.
Polaris song before
Yeah.
we started recording. You're like, man, this is fucking awesome, and you enjoyed that,
Right.
Because like the rap screaming and like
Yep.
the flow of the song, you can feel kind of the punk vibe in there. So that's probably why you kind of
The
you ought to
energy.
really dive into Polaris. Because
Yeah, I'm
even if
definitely
you're-
going to now.
even if
that
you're
I
not
heard
a
that
big
track.
if you're not a big fan of like unclean vocal, like screams and shit, and that's all a lot of people aren't. Polaris is that one band that I think everybody can be a fan of.
Mm-hmm.
Because their screams aren't like too harsh per se,
Yeah,
Or
it's
the
not
one-
like they're
the
screaming
one
to
they
scream.
just said, the one that you just
it's not
played.
like
Yeah.
the low.
Yeah, you couldn't do
Right.
deathcore like yeah.
I've heard deathcore. My friend, he's really into deathcore. He showed me a lot, and I was just like, man,
Yeah.
this is blowing out my
I'm into
eardrum.
Yeah.
the modern deathcore bands like Slaughter to Prevail, Lorna Shore that like incorporate a lot of metalcore when it comes to the music and shit. So I vibe with that. But yeah, especially like God, if you listen to like Cannibal Corpse or something where they're
Yeah.
going, it's like
And it's like
Pig squeals.
Yeah.
everything is just like a triple time triplet.
Yeah.
Like
everything's
Yeah.
triples, dude. Open triples.
Yep.
So okay, Mitch, back to your story. We just went on a tangent.
We're-
Welcome
Yeah,
to the
so-
Screaming Idiots
So
show.
we went off at
Punk.
punk.
Yeah.
Because punk rock rocks.
Yeah, so then basically around 8th grade, I tried to be in a band,
Mm-hmm.
Really?
and
Well, what kind of
I
band?
vaguely remember this.
it was with my friend.
You don't have to name drop him if you
Yeah,
don't.
like
It's all good.
we called ourselves Organized Chaos at first, and then we
Okay.
changed the name to
What kind of band? Like a punk
Celestial
band?
Murder.
Celestial Murder.
That sounds like a progressive deathcore
That
band.
sounds metal as fuck,
Yeah.
fellas. Like,
So what kind? I mean, were you trying to be a punk band or?
I don't know what we were. Basically, it was just a lost cause. Like this was just an epic fail.
Were you
Been there,
trying to
done-
play
do you
the
remember
drums
Preston?
in
Do you
that?
So,
remember
like-
Alive? You probably don't remember that, do you?
Oh, I remember the name.
So me,
yeah.
him, and our buddy that we've had on the show twice, Derek Muncie, and another guy named Trey Anderson. We were trying to start a band. We were going to call it Alive. It's like, bro, how like lame is that? But
Well, tell them your first band name.
look, we had a High Fire and Standard.
Standard was the one I remember. Yeah.
It's kind of cool though, to me.
Bro, there's a band out there that's really popular that I actually like called Filter.
Filter.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. So tell me about Celestial Murder.
Yeah, so it was just trash, It was just pure trash. I mean, like
A man has to know his limitations.
Hey,
Okay.
you shut the fuck up.
I was
You stealing my shit.
I was playing drums, My friend James was singing, and
so you can drum.
Hold on, James was singing.
Yeah, and like, yeah. So there was a couple of people who like we all came over, got in my garage. I was playing drums
Jamming.
and just jamming,
But
and
you know what? When you look back on that time, you're like, damn, that shit was kind of fun, wasn't
it was for sure.
'Cause, I mean, it's
and,
like me-
it's just great memories,
Me and him
Right.
think about the two of us or a couple of buddies, Caleb Boysel on drums. We were just jamming on 15-watt practice amps, thinking we were like gonna be rock stars. When
Yeah.
we're like 15, man. Like that shit's cool. Like when you look back on it. Now we're
Yeah.
old and we don't do that shit as much.
And so basically nobody took it like seriously. So I was like, man, fuck this. I'm gonna make my own music.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So then I was like, I'm gonna download this Mixcraft. It was called Mixcraft. And this was on like Windows Vista.
Yeah,
that,
baby.
that was like free shit, wasn't it?
So this is like 2010.
This is 2009.
Okay.
Yeah, this is 09. I download crazy shit on, Mixcraft on Windows Vista. Then I just like record a couple songs and just like, showed a couple people, and like people just making fun of me, like basically at first, because it wasn't that good, none of it. You don't ever start off good at
Hell
anything.
no.
So
Hell
when
no.
you went and did your own thing, did you go immediately to the hip hop, or were you still trying to do punk?
Yeah, so I just knew
was
that
about
there
to
was
ask
no
that.
way for me to create my own original. I had no way to record like
A full
Full
band.
a
Yeah.
full,
Yeah.
or I had no idea how to record guitars or
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
So I
But
was
you
just
knew
like,
how to track vocals.
I didn't even know how to do that, but I just knew it'd be easier
Yeah.
to
Okay.
do
You got a
that.
microphone
Yeah.
with a USB.
And you got mixing software, so you knew you could figure out at least how to track vocals and mix it.
Yeah, so that's kind of
YouTube wasn't even that big back then.
No.
So
No,
like
it-
you didn't have somewhere to go to learn how to use this shit.
no, but shout out to Shadow from
Shout out.
this dude from Boston. I used to watch his YouTube videos. That's how I first learned how to mix.
That's
Really?
cool.
Okay.
Was
cool.
well, he's from Massachusetts. I don't know
Yeah.
if it's near
Gotcha.
Boston, but
Everywhere in Massachusetts is Boston to me. But yeah, so
yeah, it's all Boston.
we're from
man.
Southern Ohio, bro. We
But,
the big city is the state.
Yeah.
yeah, so he was a big influence. Was like, oh well, this dude's like my age, like 15 at the time, also mixing his
Okay.
own
Okay.
stuff.
Nice.
And so like, it just like motivated me to want to try that.
Mm-hmm.
And then just got progressively better, kept learning new stuff, and then eventually just got pretty good, started performing shows. Then in 2015 I went to the recording workshop.
Mm-hmm.
It's called the Recording Workshop. It's in Chillicothe, and it's like a real studio, like
Right.
you get like 100 hours plus of studio time in there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really fun, and I got my advanced certificate in audio, and met a lot of cool people there.
Oh yeah.
And it's just cool being around all people who like are into music and passionate about it,
Yeah.
like you are. What I mean?
Absolutely.
That's what's fun about that. And so
So Mitch, were you going there for the purpose of like trying to become a producer, or was it just from the sense of, listen, I want to make my art, my music better? Or was it a combination of both?
it was definitely everything. Like it was like all the above.
Yeah.
But like in the sense that I'm trying to make it lucrative.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So
If you're good at something, you never do it for free, buddy.
right.
Yeah, so I mean, tell me a little bit about that recording workshop, because from what I remember you discussing with me about it, it was almost comical listening to you talk about this, because you had already been doing this for so long.
Oh yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the experience.
I mean, it was cool. Like I met this one dude. He was from like Norway or something crazy, and then I met this other guy. He was from.
So he came from fucking Europe to come do this?
Yeah, and this other guy
Really?
came from Curacao.
Where the hell's that?
Yeah, where the hell is
It's an
that?
island like near. I don't know if it's near Jamaica. I don't know where it is.
These
It's an
dudes came
island
from
in
these
an
places
ocean
to
far, far
Chillicothe,
away.
Ohio, to do this thing.
Yeah, because his dad did it in the 80s. And
Wow.
Me
his-
papa did that. I'm sorry.
and no, but for real, like his dad like owns like a studio in Curacao, so like he's gonna take over the family business one day or whatever. So like
Wow.
he was
And-
like a real cool dude. He could play the bass like Jimi Hendrix style, like upside down.
Oh, that's
Oh, okay.
crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like he could basically play every instrument. And so like I met a bunch of dudes who were like super talented and stuff, and that was cool. But the teachers, they were cool. Like R.I.P. to Greg. My teacher Greg, man, he died like I don't know, like a year or two ago. And he was a genius when it came to like listening to like the Sonics,
Mm-hmm.
like or whatever. like he could tell you exactly what mic somebody used in fucking 1980.
Jesus.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
like he just knew all that shit.
had a really
that
good
in
ear.
tune with the sonic quality of everything.
Exactly.
Yeah, not only the way you explain it, he had to be, one, a gearhead,
Yeah.
but then two, like, have the ear to know. Yeah, that's cool.
So, like, how was it being more in hip hop and rap and stuff, going to a place like that with people mostly like they have experience with instruments and they're doing different styles of music?
So I got super lucky because in the beginning they kind of ask you your interests and stuff, and then they make these groups based off of your answers.
Okay.
So they group you up with people who have
This is at the recording workshop?
yeah.
Okay.
So they group you up with people who have similar interests as you.
Right.
And so my group was, me, Elijah, Blake, and the dude from Curacao, Ramey.
This motherfucker remembers all their goddamn names. Bro, I can't
Yeah.
remember what I had for breakfast, my guy.
Well,
You don't have kids yet. That
I
don't
stayed
happen
in
when you
touch with
have
Blake.
kids.
I stayed in touch with Blake, but yeah, I mean, it was just a cool experience. But like, we meshed because we all like hip hop,
Yeah.
So Ramey, he could play pretty much anything, like, but he was into like the tropical, Caribbean style music,
Yeah.
and
So it's Tyler.
Reggae, baby.
and Eli, he made hip hop beats, and Blake made trap beats. So
That's cool.
What's the difference?
trap is just like, they do a lot of triplets with the hi-hat and, stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Basically, just a different style of that kind of.
Is
Yeah.
that a subgenre of hip hop? Like metalcore?
Pretty
Like you got
much.
metal, you got
Pretty much, yeah.
metalcore,
And like
deathcore, hardcore.
in trap, I guess they only talk
Post-hardcore.
about, I don't know whether it's the production that makes it trap or whether it's the actual lyrical content.
Mm-hmm.
So that's always kind of been confusing. But the trap kind of
I don't
production
listen to it
style,
either way.
yeah, the production style is just like speedy hi-hats and like
Yeah.
It's thrash rap.
booming bass. Yeah.
Yes.
I just translate.
Yes.
I'm the translator of the.
Yes.
I'm the host and the translator. I do it all. Listen, it is thrash rap. I got it. Okay, trap rap or trap hip hop is thrash rap for all
Let's
you
go.
metalheads out there.
Like
And don't
with
worry.
the booming bass.
Don't worry,
Yeah.
my fellow metalheads. Don't worry. We're not gonna talk about hip hop the whole time. Stay with me. Stay calm. Take a deep breath. Go listen to Sleep Token if you have to. Stay calm.
We'll talk about that.
Oh God, you got that in the shit too. You got that in the
No.
show sheet too.
I don't have a show sheet. I riff it.
This is the Tyler episode, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. I told Tyler before the show, I'm like, you're making up the content for this one. It's sink or swim time, buddy. So he's doing a great job.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of you. So Mitch, I do have a question for you. You've talked a lot about the relationships that you've built, and you said there was actually one, Blake, I believe you said,
Yeah.
that you stayed in touch with.
Yeah.
We talked about on a previous episode, maybe you've heard it, maybe you haven't, about Tyler and I talked about building your network.
Sure.
And Preston as well, talked about in the music industry, just like in most, I think, professional ventures, it's not always about what you know, it's about who you know. Right?
Exactly.
So,
I always say that. Networking is the most important thing in life.
yes, sir.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So, would you say that through that experience, that the relationships that you built were, more important than what you actually learned knowledge-wise there?
That's a good question. I did learn a lot of new stuff that I wasn't aware of, like, busting stuff out to an aux channel and like just stuff that I never even
Technical shit.
Yeah, technical stuff that I never even knew you could do. And but definitely the friendships and the memories. We were playing beer pong every night, like
Yeah.
like
So, were you guys like all staying in a house?
cabin.
Okay.
It's a cabin.
How long was this process?
This is like a few months.
Okay, so it's basically like school.
Yeah, it's school.
Okay. It's like
That's
producer
awesome.
school, basically.
Yeah, it's school. And it's like in the middle of nowhere, dude. Like it's just like out in the middle of nowhere. It's in a real sketchy spot. It's
Some
right.
wrong turn shit.
Yeah, it's right down the street from a trailer park, which, I I don't know. That doesn't mean much, but
Well,
you know.
if you're having trouble focusing in class, you can just go up to the trailer park and get some meth.
Yeah, exactly.
Go see Walter White. Get you some of that good glass.
And so we recorded, but in there we recorded rock bands. We recorded mostly rock bands.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Probably because of how complex the sound is in
Yeah.
that genre of music, and you're mixing so many different things: 1 to 2 guitars, drums, bass, all that, vocals. There's not to brag on our favorite genre of music, but there's a lot that goes into what we three of us, really love. So that would make sense.
Yeah.
But-
So
Go ahead, Tyler.
you recently recorded kind of a rock album.
yeah.
Oh,
You did a rock album?
Yep.
Wait. Like you, or you recorded for someone?
I recorded my own rock album.
But
this what I seen
all
on Facebook?
I do want to.
Is it Look Ahead?
Look around.
Or Look Around. Sorry, Look Around.
I do want to say I listened to a lot of it. I only listened to it one time through. I got to be honest. I'm a
Yeah.
shitty friend, but
And I hated it.
it was it to me was more
said I
like
gotta
along the lines of when like Kid Cudi did
Sure.
a rock
Oh,
album,
gotcha.
or
Sure.
Gotcha.
Lil
This
Wayne
is
did
really
like a rock
simplistic.
album.
Prom Queen.
No. It is not Lil Wayne.
No,
dude.
it is not Lil Wayne. But
Motherfucker sitting
He
there.
said, "Don't you dare fucking say
No,
that."
but I actually don't mind Rebirth. Like
Yeah.
Rebirth is a decent album,
Yeah.
but like
What's for Rebirth?
it's a Lil Wayne rock album.
Yeah,
But
it was
Is that
cool.
I got Prom Queen on it?
yeah.
so
Yeah.
it was still very hip hop, but it had like some guitar in it.
I'm mixing.
So like what MGK's doing now?
No,
more
because
punk.
I'm not
That's
doing
punk.
I'm not doing punk. This is like, I would call this alternative.
You did more acoustics.
Yeah, this is more
Okay.
alternative,
Okay.
and this is like, but like I'm mixing basically pop rock with alternative and maybe indie.
Oh, sweet,
Okay.
sweet. So, and maybe we'll delve deeper into that, but something I'm realizing. So, of course, me, Kyler, Tyler, we ventured, especially as musicians, into this metal genre of, we're playing guitar, and I'm trying to think of as a singular artist, especially if you're into rap, hip hop, or something like that. Not only do you have to, this will sound stupid the way I explain this, but not only do you have to learn how to rap, but then it's like, you got to learn how to deal with the computers. You got to learn how to make your, because you're not always going to have somebody around that's able to do that for
Right.
you. So,
Well, you started off, there was like websites you would go to, and we would just like be scrolling through like a pre-recorded song that you can like put your
so
rap
that's
bars
that's
on
how
and
it was.
stuff.
It's called SoundClick.
Yep.
uh-huh.
SoundClick. We used to download the beats off SoundClick and then record over it, and it was, free to use for non-profit or whatever.
Yeah.
So, just had some fun doing that, and it just progressed to after I went to recording school. I learned how to make my own beats and stuff. So,
Okay.
Okay.
Fair
yeah.
enough.
Yeah, and the reason it's just so interesting to me because like I'm a guitar player,
right,
like that's what I do. But then it's like, yeah, I rap, but I make the beats, I produce it, I mix it, this and that, and like that's a whole new world.
Yeah, you're doing it all. I mean, it's different than someone that's got somebody doing it for you.
Yeah, and I guess the reason I was bringing up the rock album is, something you and I talked about in the car earlier is that we're seeing more and more where rock and metal, they are incorporating some of these like hip hop beats, these synth sounds, things like that.
Well, and for example, a few months ago, or maybe it's been over a year, like Bring Me the Horizon did a collab with Ed Sheeran, and it sounded fucking awesome.
That sounds
live.
about right for Bring Me the Horizon.
It was cool as shit. I swear to you.
Fucking EDM ass
I
pussies.
promise you, dude, it was cool as shit.
Remember when they were deathcore? Yeah, me too.
Hey, I like the new Bring Me the Horizon.
But
Pussy.
yeah,
Took
so I
me a
mean, one thing that I need to do, I bought a MIDI controller, and it's just sitting in a box up there.
What the fuck is that?
All right, well,
It's
we're
basically-
we're
this
gonna
is
we're gonna
rabbit
go
hole.
in over your head here in a bit. But,
All right, I'm Kyler May.
but
Nice
like-
to meet y'all.
so it's basically a keyboard you plug, like a instrument you plug into your computer.
Yeah.
Sounds like it drinks Bud Light.
And you get multiple different sounds out of it.
Yeah.
Well, you do like a synth plug in, and you get to set your sounds, and like each key you hit is the different sound, and that's kind of how they make their beats.
I just play guitar, bro.
Right.
But
It's not as complicated as you think.
I listen to things like nu metal and whatnot, which was doing some of that back in the 90s, like Deftones and shit. We talk about Linkin Park a lot. They kind of had a DJ rapper kind of dude.
Yeah.
Mike.
Issues?
Issues.
Remember they had
yeah.
the dude doing the fucking,
Oh yeah.
what are they called?
Limp Bizkit, Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah, they all had that. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
Rage Against the Machine.
Oh, I love
so
Rage.
seeing you go the opposite direction, being more of a rapper, hip hop artist that started incorporating rock, how was that kind of experience for you as far as trying to write this stuff and put the stuff together? Because if I'm not mistaken, you never really tried to write like rock songs before.
Yeah, so I'd always have like rock influenced. I mean, not always, but like a lot of times I would have rock influenced beats.
Okay.
Okay.
I do remember a lot of instrumentation in the beats that you would pick.
Yeah, like I liked rock. Rock was my main genre that I preferred over hip hop, but I just didn't have the ability to record my own rock songs.
Mm-hmm.
So like that was just like a dream of mine that I don't know why I didn't pick up acoustic when we were like hanging out every day, you know?
Yeah, when I would be sitting in the living room with you while you're on the computer rapping and shit, and I'm like playing the acoustic guitar, but we had no way of recording it. Like,
Yeah.
Bro, you ever heard of J. Kurt?
Bro.
oh, look,
No.
Don't slander this man.
look.
No.
All right,
Here
let
we
me tell you a
go.
story, man. Let me
he
tell
was in
Hey,
jail.
it's story time.
Not too long
It's
ago.
story time.
Dude,
Oh,
why'd
my
you
God.
bring that
Look,
up?
this
Yo,
dude.
J. Kurt.
Look, this dude.
I
came
rap
up to
battled
Mitch.
J.
No,
Kurt.
shut up.
No, you fucking didn't.
Look,
you
look,
piece
shut
of
up,
shit.
shut up. Look, we're at the fair. Mitch and I are walking around the Fayette County fucking fair, and this dude comes up and he's like, I wanna rap battle you. And like he's with his entourage.
His
Yes.
Ginger entourage.
Yes.
And like
I'm
And
going
he
to
was
slander
like-
the fuck out
he's
of
like,
him.
he's like, I think I could beat your ass in
People
a
like,
rap
quit, he's
battle and stuff
autistic.
like that. And look, Mitch is like, I've never really
This is
done
horrible.
that, but like, okay. And so we all start walking out to the parking lot,
Yeah.
and like
Tell him.
people are like joining in. They see a crowd of you know when you're at the Fayette County
like, it's a
Fair,
fight.
you see a crowd and you think there's a fight about to happen. And so more and more people got involved, and we just had this huge mass of people
A lot.
about to leave.
I'm not
out to the
exaggerating.
parking
About
lot,
50 people or more.
And cops
like,
stop us. The cops stop us, and they're like,
the sheriff.
yeah, the sheriff. They're like, what's going on here? You guys about to fight? Blah blah blah.
And then they're like,
And then we're like, nah, we about to rap battle.
and they're like, they break out the walkie-talkie. Negative. It's just a rap battle. It's just a rap battle.
We go.
They're
all
trying to
the
do
way-
redneck 8 Mile.
Look, we go all the way to the back of this parking lot, back where the campers and stuff were. And
I already hate
there
this
was
conversation.
this huge circle of people, and you have Mitch,
Yeah.
this dude, in the
J.
fucking
Kurt.
middle.
J. Kurt.
J.
in the
Kurt.
middle. And
Captain.
I
Never
believe
mind.
he
what I was
went
gonna say is
first,
fucked
didn't he?
And I don't remember it.
I
that
don't remember
much,
what
but
he
like,
said, but it was horrible.
I remember he probably went first.
He did because he was the challenger.
And then I kind of responded, and this was all off the top of my head, by the way. I didn't prepare for any of this.
It doesn't
And
make
I
you
remember
sound
the
any
one lyric.
cooler that you rap battle Jake Kurt.
I did
you
not
gotta talk your
want
way out of
to. I
this.
swear to God, I told everybody I do not
I'd have been
want
like,
to do
bro,
this.
Jesus. wanna, like, fight instead?
I probably made you.
I told everybody, like, I do not want to do this. You know, this is not, you know, I'm not trying to bully this guy. You know, I'm not really trying to
Which pissed him off even more.
not bully, but like, I'm not trying to, you know what rap battling is. It's making fun of somebody.
I've seen 8 Mile.
Yeah.
His real name is Clarence.
So I kind of took something from 8 Mile. I was like, rappers don't stutter.
Oh,
yeah.
And then
damn.
And it flowed so perfectly with what he was rapping about before, and everybody lost their fucking mind.
Just cracked
You know
up.
that? You know those videos where? Oh man, I wish I could remember. They were way back in the day, and it was like this group of dudes having a little rap battle, and you see that little dude with the glasses, and the fucking dude would just say something stupid. He was just, oh shit, you're fucking nuts and everything. It was like that moment.
Mitch, how old
when
were you at this time
everybody
in your life?
How old was I? 16?
All right,
I
I'll give you a
think it was
pass.
15.
Okay, I'll give you a
16.
pass. If you would have been like 19, bro,
Nah, I was.
I
dude,
think Jay
swear
Kurt's
to-
still out there at Walmart trying to fucking rap battle people because that's how far.
I
his
swear
man.
to God,
How
I
far
did
his
not
rap
want
career's
to.
gone.
Like that was just. But like we've,
Remember when he was, like,
we've
just naming people
reconciled.
off
That
in
was
his
all
song?
just for fun. That was for the sport. That was just for fun. I wasn't trying to be personal. I don't have anything against the guy.
Right.
He used to walk around
Well,
our
like-
school and like hand out his mixtape, and he
What-
would just like name random people.
What
Be
was
like Jay
crazy-
Kurt, J Cole. Like, yeah, that shit hits hard, bro. Keep it up, my guy.
So what was crazy is like with rock and bands normally, like we're all pretty friendly with each other. Like
Yeah.
egos get involved sometimes, and there be a little bit of dissonance between groups. But like,
Ambient
dude, I
dissonance?
remember what?
Ambient dissonance.
It wasn't very pretty.
Anyway, I remember, hanging out with Mitch while he's like doing his rap thing, and it seemed like every different rapper in the area fucking hated you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But they hated each other too.
Yeah.
And it was like, why so much fucking hatred?
Because like
Interesting
in
topic.
Ohio, man, I don't know if it's just Ohio, but like there's just like this scene of like everybody's like trying to outdo each other or whatever. They're not really trying to like support each other.
Mhm.
Like I'm not kidding when I say like I've been involved with a lot of, I mean, not super prevalent artists, but artists that have came up quite a bit,
Like who?
I mean,
I'm not gonna know any of them, but people listening might.
yeah, I don't really want to say any names,
Okay, fair
but
enough.
Asked him too fast.
but like, I basically been behind the scenes for quite a few things that like people don't really know that I was, mixing it for them, or I taught them how to mix, or, stuff like that. So, but like I've been around, like, I was with him during Standard, like all his jam sessions. Like all his jam sessions, we recorded a couple songs for Screaming Evidence before you guys got in the real studio. Like
That's right. It was when me and Sean were just acoustic, and we recorded like Surrounded and I'm not even going to sit here and try to remember the names, but they were
Letters?
just acoustic songs, and we had them on our MySpace, bro.
yeah, it was
That
all about
MySpace
MySpace.
days.
It was all about MySpace back then.
Mitch, did you have something?
No, I don't think so. I have something, but I think it can wait.
I'm just curious. This is a metal podcast, so I got to keep it somewhat
Yep,
metal.
yep.
And I am just curious, as a metalhead, I don't listen to rap in any way, shape, or
Right.
form. None.
And
Zero,
I was about to
zip,
jump
zilch.
into the metal that I like, by the way.
Zero zip zilch. I don't know who's doing what these days.
Sure.
The old school shit, like 90s, early
Yep.
2000s. You
Yep.
talked about Nelly, 50, shit like that, like real fucking hip hop.
Right.
Like I love that shit.
Exactly.
The fucking trap. You were talking about trap rap or hood rap, whatever they
I
call
don't
it these days.
I don't love it personally.
So I'm just curious, what is it about rap or hip hop that draws you to it and makes you want to make that kind of music? Because I don't understand from a creativity standpoint of like, bro, are you kidding me? I can't sing, let alone rap.
Right.
So it's like, what is it about that style that draws you to it?
Well, basically in like 7th grade, I got into poetry,
Okay.
like
Okay.
Edgar Allan Poe and shit.
Yes. That's metal as fuck.
Yes,
Edgar
it
Allan
is.
Poe is metal as fuck.
So all that poetry. I just like that, you know, rhyming and, you know, you get into the craft of rhyming.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then it becomes like addictive. Like you just try to come up with like, what can I rhyme next? What do these two words rhyme with? You know, when you put them together, or when you say it in a sentence, how can I rhyme this in between this and then rhyme that at the end?
Yeah, so there's a lot of elements of poetry that go into writing rap that's lyrical anyway.
Right.
And you know,
Rap
like
stands for raw ass poetry, bro. Didn't you know?
I was gonna say like I think it stands for rhythm and poetry, but I'm not
I think
sure.
it is. I think.
But
you're
there
correct.
is like that rhythmic aspect too. Like rappers talk about the flow and everything, and that's the rhythmic aspect to it. And if you don't, would you say that your time as a percussionist?
That's what I was about to say.
Love it.
Let's
That's
go.
what I
Love
was
it.
about to say. When I wouldn't ever been able to rap if I didn't drum,
Yeah.
because you learn cadences,
Yep.
Mhm.
and cadences are essentially what your flow is.
Yeah.
Your flow can be translated to a drum cadence,
Okay.
a snare cadence. So like, you know, when you figure that out, and then you figure out like basically syllables are rhythmic. You know, you count
Those
out.
are your rhythmic tools.
Yeah,
I was literally going to say tools. Yeah.
you count out your syllables, and then you come up with your pattern based off your syllables.
Okay.
I mean, you don't even count it out. Like, you just sort of.
You gotta feel
That's
it.
cool. I feel
Yeah.
like so. I'll be brutally honest with you. I'm very critical of rap.
Sure.
I feel like the majority of rap these days is garbage.
Yeah.
And that it's just dudes wanting
They
to
ruined
think
it.
they're thugs. They want to seem cool. That's what I feel like the majority of rap is these days. I feel like there's a complete lack of emotion and real shit other than how many people can I shoot or girls can I fuck. But hear me out. There are still some. That's why I like some of the older shit, right?
Yeah.
And like you guys
They had
love
something to
NF,
say.
huh?
They had something to say.
Yeah, and like you guys love NF.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Like,
he's good.
Yeah, so there's several that I really enjoyed back in the day, but the more that genre has developed, especially the mainstream shit, I just felt like there was a total lack of emotion and real world experience and shit like that in it, as opposed to Eminem's day, or
Right,
when he
right.
was kind of in his rise and shit. And I think that's why I'm drawn to metal so much, is
Sure.
because there is so much emotion and raw feeling and power
And
behind.
talent, dude. Like,
Sure.
These new rappers, I'm not going to say they're not talent. Who's to say what's talent?
Exactly.
I was gonna say define talent. For me.
Exactly. Yep.
So it's all subjective.
Yes, you cannot, and that's the thing. I'm not knocking anybody's talent. It's just for me, the music I'm drawn to makes me feel something.
Exactly.
I don't care what genre it is. If it is something that makes me feel, then I'm going to be drawn to it. And rap for me never really did that.
Right.
So
right.
I'm always curious to hear somebody's perspective that it did, and that's cool.
So
to
when
hear
it
that
comes
poetry
to-
did that for you.
Yeah, so when it comes to listening to it, I would say, Eminem probably first
absolutely.
big
Right.
influence.
Right.
And then Kid Cudi,
Mm-hmm.
big influence on me.
J. Cole, because you're kind of going down this road. With
J.
some
Cole
guys
was,
that-
yes, definitely. Mac Miller,
yeah,
all that stuff.
Logic maybe.
I don't listen to a lot of Logic.
Okay.
I think he's pretty good. I think he's all right. But
J. Cole was one that I actually could listen to.
Kendrick for sure.
Kendrick,
And
yep.
then but my
Chance.
Chance, yeah, early on.
Early
on.
Chance,
But then,
okay.
Tupac. I could go on for days. But
Tupac to me is the greatest rapper of all time, and that's just, I don't think it's even up for debate. But
Lil Wayne was like big back in our, I mean, he's
Yeah.
still,
even I like Lil Wayne
Yeah.
back in the day.
yeah. And so like I remember Lil Wayne was like the biggest rapper when I was in school. Like he
Same.
was,
Well, we're the same age, so
yeah. So
same.
you get in the car, everybody's playing
Yeah.
Lil Wayne.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
then
the Carter-
high school,
the
Mac
Carter
Miller
3 was
got really
like-
popular. I remember we took long cruises listening to Kid Cudi.
Yeah.
Kid Cudi was like the first rapper I ever really got into.
He
For
was
sure.
really into Nelly, Akon, Usher, that more
I've talked about my love for
hip hop.
R&B.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always delved into R&B, but I mean, rapper wise, J. Cole's.
I
always
enjoyed
been my
Chris
favorite.
Brown when I was in
Yep.
that
For sure.
age, just that more soul, because I feel like a lot of the more in the past 15 years, like R&B, hip hop, there was a lot of soul involved in all that, like old school soul music, and I enjoyed that way more than I did actual rap.
Right.
That's why I
right.
liked I did like Usher, I did like Akon, I did like Chris Brown, certain shit like that actually had some feel to it.
Yeah. And
So go ahead, sorry.
so, I was just gonna bounce off that. Like Usher,
Mhm.
I used to sing that in the back of the car.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
yeah. But
So yeah, how would you say that kind of music connected with you and really made you fall in love with it and want to do that?
it's just music in general, man. Like I don't like doing this like genre. I mean, like
He's not a genre Nazi.
Yep.
like
okay.
it's just music in general for me. Like it's just like whatever I was listening to,
Mhm.
and if it sucked, then I'm not gonna gravitate towards it.
Yeah.
But like if it's good, it's just good.
So one thing I wanted to ask, and I don't know that the three of us have even talked about it on this show, but I remember when I was a kid that at an earlier age, I felt like I had an ear for music.
Yeah.
Meaning like people around me would listen to music and it would be this stuff that they liked listening to, but for me it was always I hear the drums. How do I figure that out? I want to do that. Next thing you know, I'm tapping my hands like drums. Like,
Yeah.
was there ever a moment for you that like made you realize I think I have an ear for this stuff, regardless of genre, whatever it was?
Um.
And maybe you can't think on
It
it.
was
There's not a specific moment for me either.
Probably, singing in the shower at some point,
Mhm.
or one time I got a solo part in a school
But,
musical,
okay.
and so that kind of let me know that I'm a pretty decent singer.
Yeah.
So, and then when I tried out for band, I wanted to do trumpet,
Mm-hmm.
but then they're like, well, maybe you should try drums. And then,
I can't buzz them lips like we need you to. Go try to beat with some sticks.
and then, Mr. Stanley was like, you have perfect rhythm. This is perfect for you.
Mhm.
And then I was like, okay, let's go with that.
So then just listening and creating those beats for yourself, maybe that is what, and I don't want to speak for you by any means, but that's what maybe gravitated you toward, not specifically rap music, but that's what you ended up delving into.
Right. So just
Hip-hop,
drumming,
rap, whatever.
drumming is the biggest influence on my life. And I never realized it until I got older, how much it truly impacted me.
Mm-hmm.
Cause you're learning the xylophone,
Mm-hmm.
you're learning the timpani, you're learning all these things that actually have notes.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And, it kind of teaches you piano in a way, because the layout of
It's the same thing.
it's the same layout.
You're just hitting it with something instead of your
Yeah,
fingers.
so like the
Yeah.
top keys are the black keys on a piano.
Yeah.
So, it's just one of those things where
We had to learn all our scales.
you learn your
and-
scales, all that stuff, and then once I was in the snare
drum line.
drum line
Okay.
for marching band
Yes, you was, bro.
because of him, because of this dude.
Because he
Look.
sucks so bad that he
no, no,
didn't
no,
get
no,
the
no, no, no,
spot.
no, no, no. Look,
No, he
look,
was first chair, bro. This is the greatest thing
Okay.
he ever did for me.
look.
I was the first chair flutist.
I wanted to play-
flautist.
Dude, you remember Bobby
metal
always
as
trying to
fuck.
beat me?
Yeah,
Dude, he would get so
first chair
mad.
alto sax. Fuck with me.
him and Bobby would go back and forth like first chair, like they would challenge each other to
Well, he would always come and challenge me, and then he would like.
You went
he
back
would
to back
pick-
with a dude named Bobby.
Well, his name
That's
was
tough.
His name's Sukji.
It's Sukji, but
What?
everyone
His name's
called him
what?
Saji.
exactly. So we called him Bobby. But
His bus driver came up with that.
he wanted to be
Yeah, I
first
would
chair. Look, he wanted to be first chair so bad, so he would always like find these things to challenge me by, these pieces of music to play.
Tried to find
Like,
the most difficult.
I had like an hour to learn it and play against him on this. And so he would challenge me and he would get the chair, and then the next week I would come back and I'd play the exact same piece of music and whip his ass. And he would
Yeah.
get so mad. But
It was so funny.
when we went into 9th grade, it was like I was going to play snare in the drum line.
He
And
should have.
I didn't show up like the first day or something, so Mr. Stanley gave it to you.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Here, play the cymbals." And at first I was like slighted. I was like, "How dare you give me these fucking cymbals?"
So that's what happened. You didn't
Yeah.
show up the first day of band camp.
Heard a lot about band camp.
You
look,
fucking nerds.
So look, I didn't show up because I was a bit of a rebel, and I was like, "Fuck it, I got."
I'm gonna be hard and not show up to the first day of band camp.
I got other shit I want to do, and then I show up, and he was like, I gave it to Mitch. I'm gonna have you play these cymbals, and I pick up these big ass fucking cymbals and start bashing these motherfuckers together.
Did you have the hat on while you did it?
No, I didn't have
Big
the
hat.
hat yet. We were still in the early.
We had to earn the
stages.
hat. We had to earn the
hadn't
hat.
earned the hat yet.
You
But,
were not Nick Cannon yet.
But look, I start doing this, and we start getting the march in, and I'm like doing these fucking cymbal twirls and shit. And I was like, and honestly, Mr. Stanley came up to me and was like, "So, do you want to play snare?" And I was like, "I don't
Kinda,
know.
bro."
I'm kind of digging what I'm doing."
Yeah, you
And
got
what
into
what it was is like, because I believe you were struggling with the rhythms, because a lot of it was in like fucking
Double time.
double time, 2/4,
Yeah.
weird counting, and it was kind of tough to like get all that shit down. And I was like, I really don't feel like fucking with that. I'm gonna do this. Let Mitch keep playing the snare, man. Like, he's gonna get it. Like, it's just gonna take him a little.
Because like everybody thought that I wasn't as good as I actually was. Like I was actually pretty good.
That's
but
my whole life, bro. Everybody
Yeah.
thinks I suck. I think I'm pretty good.
That's not like some off Seinfeld.
Well, look, it wasn't his fault or any of ours. We never learned that kind of music until we got into marching band.
Right.
I was first chair
And
alto
there's-
sax, so suck my dick.
Hell yeah, baby. But like rhythmically, it was so much different getting into marching band than doing concert band, and we had never really been exposed to it, so it just took you a little longer to get it. But you ended up doing pretty well, dude. I remember fucking having them hi-hats going, and like I had to like shimmy back and try to touch my cape to the ground while I'm like dancing and
Yeah.
shit. He's up here like hitting my cymbals like hi-hats, and fucking it's stupid as shit.
It was goofy, but dude, it was
It was
so
fun.
fun. Yeah. And so that's just the ultimate where music started for me. Then I started going to Tyler's house every day. He would play Rise Against every day.
Oh, okay.
I listened to a lot of Rise Against back then.
And then
You know, it's not all too different than our story, I guess.
No, it's
You know?
not.
It's not too different than me and Preston. It's kind of different music, different. You know, ours was our dads running us back and forth to each other's house to play as many Metallica riffs and come up with as many different riffs as we could.
Yeah.
But similar thing where it's you find a passion for music that you find somebody that's like, oh, you like that? Me too. Let's do it together. That kind of thing.
yeah,
you know?
exactly.
I kind of
And it creates lifelong friendships. Sorry,
Absolutely.
Tyler. Go ahead, buddy.
I kind of want to switch gears slightly
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, because I was gonna get into more metal.
Before
you know,
you
Fuck
get
yeah.
into metal,
Metal.
before you get into metal,
Oh, okay, Tyler. I
we
guess
get
I fucked
into
myself.
kind of giving a little bit of advice towards like local musicians,
Yeah.
musicians
Yes.
getting started and stuff. And I think you can give a lot of really good advice on a particular topic. And then maybe we can get a little bit into kind of the production side of things with you having a background. But the first thing I want to talk about is, I think it was in episode 2, maybe.
We're going way back.
We talked about kind of calluses that we build as musicians and
Right.
artists over time. And we had spoken about it more in the vein of, playing a bunch of live shows. You kind of learn how to get through obstacles and deal with certain scenarios. But there's another callus that you have to build that I think is something you can really help with. And you kind of touched on why earlier. And it's the fact that you're always going to have people that don't like what you do.
Sure.
And they're going to have some shit to say about it. And they're going to do everything they can to bring you down because they're upset that you're doing something that you love and they got nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so what I have learned, being friends with you for so long is, one, like you mentioned, when you first got started, people would just kind of make fun of you.
Right.
And then you have these other musicians, these other rappers coming at you. And then even still, you probably have a lot of fucking haters.
Yeah.
And I think that's just the way it is in rap.
I think that's just the way it
But-
is in the world, man. Like,
Especially now. Yep.
But yeah, how do you
anything social media, how do you deal with it? You just have thick skin. You just don't give a fuck what anybody has to say about you because,
Yeah, man.
at the end of the day, they don't know your life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dude.
Like, they don't know who you are. So, like, anything that people especially on the internet, like on the internet, you just go wild. You just people say outlandish stuff all the time. So they say stuff about dead people. They say stuff, whatever, they say crazy stuff on there. So, like, you take it with a grain of salt. Like, this is the internet. This is not reality.
Yeah.
There is so many stereotypes out there, right? Like, people look at you and they think, fucking white guy from Southern Ohio that's a rapper.
Right,
What?
right.
Dude, on our TikTok account, we've got almost 15,000 followers. So we get a decent amount of interaction on our shit. And, a lot of times when I'm posting a video, if it's me talking about a metal topic or something, I get so many comments. Imagine a redneck trying to talk about metal.
Right.
Bro, you just got to let that shit. And when we first got big on TikTok, I struggled with it. I'm like,
You don't know me.
well, you don't fucking know me, dude.
Yeah.
Like, but eventually I'm just like, these are literally faceless, anonymous, social media, I almost said Twitter, but social media trolls that literally have absolutely nothing going for them in life, that they feel the need to talk shit about somebody on social media. And the stereotypes that are out there, like when and you're from my hometown, whatever, so you think about, you look at this guy and you think, oh, well, I can figure out what type of music he's into.
Sure.
A lot of people would look at you and think he's not a rapper. He's
Right.
people look at me, y'all see what I'm wearing? I say y'all a lot. I got horses. I got hogs. I work in the farming. I work in agriculture. That's what I do for a living.
Yeah.
Oh, he listens to country. No, I don't actually. I mean, a very, very little amount.
Right.
It's like, no, I'm a fucking metalhead. I play guitar. Like, I've been a metalhead since I was a kid. Like, and I know that you have had to overcome and learn to deal with those stereotypes for so long.
For sure.
And you mentioned having thick skin, and I think that is huge.
Absolutely.
We talk about on this podcast, and I don't mean to get deeper emotional here, but we talk about Mitch on this show a lot about how the metal brotherhood, especially for us, we get attacked viciously so many times by people outside of the industry and outside of the scene that were uneducated devil worshipers, and that's what our music's about. So that's what we're about, and all this shit. And people are so wrong. Because so many of so much of the lyrics, if you look at the lyrics for fucking 90% of what we listen to, it's a very different message than oh, you're a devil worshiper. Those bands are out there. That's not what we listen to.
Mm-mm.
No, yeah, and it's sort of the same thing with
and
rap.
hip hop thinks that,
because not every rapper is pure, like, stupid stuff.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm guilty of it sometimes. I'm a man. I can admit when I'm wrong and admit, You know, when I've made a mistake about something,
Sleep
I
token.
knew. Shut up.
Yep.
Shut up. Shut up. So I have been guilty of that, especially in my younger years, where I thought, God, all this fucking new rap shit, people just want to be hard. They want people to think they're cool.
Yeah.
And so much of that music is not that way. And you've done a great job of explaining that. So go ahead, Mitch. I don't want to hold you off here.
So, you know, with rap, you just have to be really confident. I don't know what it is. I think you, as a musician, don't you just have to be confident?
Yes,
I mean,
sir. Yes, sir. You
Yeah,
do.
there's a level. I think of
Especially when you're creating your own.
yeah.
Yeah, and I'm trying to relate it to me growing up because I've talked about it on this show. When I was growing up, I had so many different influences, so many types of music around me. But what I liked growing up was R&B, rap music, and hip hop. That was what I was into. And I think of different influences in my life at that time. And you mentioned confidence, and it was in relation to basketball. I was really into basketball when I was a kid.
Yes,
Still
sir.
am.
Still, I was gonna say, still are.
And I think about these high-level athletes, and especially nowadays,
Yep.
but even before,
Michael
like,
Jordan.
there's just a level of confidence that
Yes.
they don't give a fuck what anybody has to say. And I relate that to rap music, hip-hop music, or any musical venture.
And, you know, I don't want to get political here by any stretch of the imagination, but when you think about, like, for so many years, and this goes back to the freaking 80s, when people would think of hip-hop or rap, if they saw a white guy doing something,
Right.
you know, like 50 talks about Eminem
Yeah.
and how he does it better than most black guys do, and it pisses him off. And 50's like, you got to get over that shit.
Right.
There are in rap, if people typically think, oh well, that's just an African American thing, or that's the stereotype around it. And then with metal, it's the same thing. It's like, oh well, that's a white people thing. And I have always said that I love, so some of my big bands that I love and I'm drawn to have African American vocalists because they just bring a whole new element to the music. And I love female fronted bands too,
Sure.
like Spirit Box. Arch
Avril
Enemy,
Lavigne.
Avril Lavigne. Yeah,
You
sure,
better,
Avril
you better listen to that horn band I sent today.
Well, we were golfing, bro. I didn't
know.
have a chance. So,
Yeah, when you get
female Death or Dying Wish. There's a lot of female fronted bands. So I am all about, like, when it comes to metal, I want everybody in it
Yeah.
because everybody brings a different style. Everybody has a different upbringing and brings a different level of uniqueness to the genre. But there's always going to be those stereotypes around. Well, if you're this, you can't do that.
Well, if you think about it, you know, the Beastie
And
Boys.
it's bullshit.
The Beastie Boys, they didn't really get a lot of hate.
No.
The Beastie
They
were-
Boys was a huge
they were-
part of why hip hop and rap became commercially successful.
They were incredibly popular because it was I don't
God, we haven't.
They were
talked about
white.
the Beastie Boys
Yeah.
in
But
They
then,
were white.
But
That's
then
just a
Vanilla
fact.
Ice
That's a
came,
fact.
and
Yes.
then that's what Vanilla Ice kind of got hated on.
Yeah.
So did Fred Durst, still does.
And so it turned into like white people shouldn't be allowed to rap
Yep.
because this is ruining it. It's not street anymore.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah.
And but I think Vanilla, if there was no Vanilla Ice, I don't think Eminem
Mm-hmm.
is allowed.
I don't think Fred Durst is either.
Yeah.
They got their hate out on Vanilla Ice.
Yeah.
And Vanilla Ice was kind of gimmicky, kind of nerdy. Like he
Yeah.
was really trying hard. But from what
But
I
he could
understand-
dance, dude.
Yeah,
Like he could
was
dance.
he was an entertainer.
Yeah.
But the Beastie Boys, Tyler talked about the Beastie Boys. The thing about the Beastie Boys that I think made hip hop popular was because they had metal music with hip hop lyrics. You know, they were the first rap metal band out there, right? And my dad, who graduated high school in 1989, so grew up in the 80s, you know, loved the Beastie Boys.
I love him.
And I do too, dude.
Yeah.
That's,
My
I mean,
kids love Brass Monkey.
Yep.
They love
That funky
hey,
monkey,
that
baby.
funky monkey, bro.
Lucas, my little one will get in the car. He'd be like, "Dad, can you play Brass Monkey?" And I'll be like,
So,
"Yes."
like,
that's
So
awesome.
I'll turn it on, and they'd be like, "Dad, can you turn it up?"
Yeah, man.
That's
So
awesome,
listen,
dude.
but that's also metal as fuck because the Beastie Boys
That
are
is metal as fuck.
So thank you for saying our tagline. So my dad, you know, who grew up in the 80s, you know, we're a bunch of country boys. We farm, you know, we got livestock. We're that's what we are. But my dad was a big metalhead, and you know, in the 80s, you're a glam metalhead because that's you got
Hair
glam
metal.
metal, you got thrash metal. My dad loved them both. So, the Beastie Boys were a great bridge for people like my dad who were strictly metalheads or country guys to come into that hip hop thing. And that's why, like, when I was growing up, my dad had Nelly CDs in his disc binder
Exactly.
and had, you know, fucking NWA and shit like that
Sure.
because bands like the Beastie Boys in the 80s were able to bridge
Popularize
that gap.
that.
Yes, sir. Exactly. Bridge that gap between over here and hip hop.
Because hip hop was just like a scene. It wasn't like a movement.
It was
yet.
emo
Yeah.
of the 80s,
Yeah.
dude.
It was just like we're playing this in house parties and like we're freestyling.
I believe
in
it
the
was called like
club.
house music.
Yeah,
at first.
yeah. You know, we're
That
free.
sounds right.
Like basically, the first rappers, MCs, started rapping over
What does MC stand for?
Master of Ceremonies.
Okay, fair enough.
Hmm.
Because you hear rappers say that MCs a lot, and I never knew what it meant.
Because that was what it was. Was back then it would be like everybody say, "Hey, hey,"
Yep.
and it was just like, all they were doing was looping the break beat of like a James Brown song or something and freestyling over that.
So then you had somebody like DMX, right, that does shit with Aerosmith.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And those guys bridge a
You
gap.
mean Run
between-
DMC?
Run DMC.
Run DMC, sorry.
Yeah.
Did I
Yeah.
say DMX? Sorry. You, again, I'm
We're not
horrible
very
with rap.
educated on rap.
But
No,
that was the first, you know,
collab with
for rock.
rock and hip hop rap.
Mhm.
Hey,
Yeah.
that was a jam though.
It is a jam. It's an absolute jam.
So I
So-
want you to continue with your point, but real quick, something hit me. Were the Beastie Boys the original Linkin Park?
Yes, absolutely they were.
Okay.
Yes,
Continue.
100%. And the original Hollywood Undead too.
Yeah,
Right.
all of it.
So one thing I want to mention was kind of cool about when house music or rap first started coming around was that it was still records
Yeah, it was
back
records.
then.
Mm-hmm.
That's
And
where
it
the,
was-
that's where the record scratching
That's
comes from.
that's
Yeah.
where the turntable and stuff came
Turntables,
because they had to have two turntables next to each other so that they can be switching out
Yeah.
records and
Yep.
shit and looping together these
Yep.
different beats.
Yeah,
And like
the
they would
break
loop
beats.
it here, and then they'd be like, "All right, we're switching over here to switch up the beat," and then I'm switching this out, and then they would do the little.
Yep.
And
I don't know if they're really called record scratches, but that's what it is.
Well, that's
They're-
what it
it's
was
scratching.
at first.
And so that's where it all originated, and
This is so cool to hear.
it's evolved. It's evolved to just computers. So
It's all plugins
Yeah.
and effect. Yeah.
so
Well, it's no different than
it-
guitars.
Yeah.
If we want to relate this back to metal, you know, back in the and I'm not saying that, you know, nowadays music is subpar talent wise to 70s and 80s, but 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s even. It's all done at the amp or at the pedal
Sure.
or something of that. Nowadays when bands are recording records, it's all done on a computer.
You can automate it on
It's
the computer.
all plugins and effects and mixing software. That's what it is. If you go listen to that new Polaris song that has that glitch effect in the solo that you were talking about, Preston, go listen to Inhumane by Polaris. There's a glitch effect in the solo. That ain't done on a fucking amp or a pedal. I promise you.
It can be done by a pedal, but yeah. I mean,
You're not
it's
doing it
done.
that fast. I promise you, you're not. And making it that crisp. It's all
if
done
you
on a
get-
computer.
if you get-
No, you're not. You can argue with me all day long. You are not getting
There
that out
are
of a
certain
pedal.
Yeah.
effects where you can
Yeah, you
you
get
can get that.
Is it called tremolo? A
No.
tremolo effect that
Well,
does
Well,
that
It's a
in and
phase.
out?
It's a
Tremolo,
hyper
but there's,
phase.
Tremolo's a
That's
little
what it
different.
is.
There's a type of delay that's like a glitch delay.
But there's
Yeah.
also a hyper phaser effect in that too,
There's so
because
much different shit out
But
there.
there's
Yeah.
so many pedals, man. Like you could probably get. I mean, you could get a real analog pedal for just about any effect.
Right.
you can.
Right.
Just about, yeah.
Yeah.
But the reality
That's what
is
it
that
originated.
nowadays
Yeah, exactly.
albums are done on a computer. It's all done on a computer.
Yeah.
Whereas back in the day, it's in a booth with a mic and a pop filter and however many effects that you can get out of your amp and your pedal.
Yep.
And that's how they created sound back then. And that's why today's music sounds so much better is because of technology. And I don't
Right.
think hip hop's any different. But it's cool to go back and listen to the old shit.
But do you
that
think
is-
it sounds better?
New or old?
Metal,
I'm sorry.
I think-
metal, or just music in general?
I think music in general sounds better.
Yes.
But the ability and tenacity of
Dude, I'm gonna take you down.
bands back then to create what they did, as limited as they were.
24 track.
Like,
Or
and
less.
especially
8
like
track.
house music and rap and stuff, because there was that movie about NWA that was out, and
Yeah.
you see
Straight
them
Outta
going in.
Compton.
Yeah. You go
Fantastic
their first
movie, by the
time
way.
their first time in the studio, like you see dudes show up with a box of records, and he's like recording these little pieces of records and shit, trying to put together their beats and whatnot. And it's like nowadays it's just some copy and paste and
Yeah.
Can I take
Yeah.
you down a wormhole?
Let's go.
Let's
baby.
go.
I'm gonna take you down where none of the three of you are gonna know what the fuck I'm talking about. But
Let's go.
NASCAR.
Okay.
Okay, I am a huge NASCAR.
Jeff
fan.
Gordon.
Was my favorite driver growing up. So that's why I'm a Chase Elliott fan now, because Chase Elliott got in Jeff's car when Jeff retired.
No way.
But
I didn't know that.
So NASCAR in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, even early 2000s. The guys that dominated the sport, the Jeff Gordons, the Jimmy Johnsons, the Tony Stewarts, go back further, Richard Petty, David Pearson, all these guys. The reason they
Do it for
dominated the
Dale.
sport,
Do it for Dale.
Dale Earnhardt, yeah. You go back and figure out why they dominated the sport. It was called it. People called it cheating. NASCAR fans called it ingenuity. They were figuring out how to cheat in some way, shape, or form to make their cars faster, basically. Whether it was dropping weight out of the car going around the track, whether it was modifying some of the body panels for better aero.
Oh, I see what you're
Whatever
saying.
it was, they were manipulating shit manually, doing all this stuff. Nowadays,
Yeah.
everybody has the same car, and you have to figure out how to be faster based off of tire pressure and certain brake bias and shit like that. Music is no different.
Right.
Back
knew
in the
that's
day-
where you were going with that.
Yes. So back in the day, it's all done manually, right? It's all very trial and error. NASCAR was no different back in the day. It was all trial and error. How can we get faster? How can I fuck with this right rear quarter panel and this skew to make my car faster? Well, how can I make my record sound better here in 1984?
Well,
I'm gonna
I
fuck
just
with
think
this and
that,
fuck with that. And nowadays, just like in NASCAR, you have a limited space to work in, and everything is done by computer. Everything's
Yeah.
done automated.
You're right.
The work has been done for you ahead of time because of all this software that we have available. So I have a unique appreciation for what a lot of bands and artists and whatnot did back in the day when they didn't have the access to this technology
Yeah.
that we do today. So no, it doesn't sound as good, obviously, but I have a specific appreciation for what they did in those times.
But the point I was gonna make was the Beatles, dude. Their recordings are just crazy. You know, like just for the '60s, like
Yep.
their recordings are,
Layer after layer.
their harmonies are like nuts. Like everything is like, this is all the same take. This isn't. You can't overdub
That's
this.
why
Yeah.
people still listen to Abbey Road like
Yeah.
60 years later.
Yeah, and just the effects. They were using effects that was way ahead of the time, and
Yep.
like, you know,
They were considered demonic at the time.
Yes.
yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, around the time the Beatles came around, there was some interesting developments in recording
Yeah.
where you can do up to like 4 tracks. And
Yeah,
stuff
so
like,
they-
it wasn't just like one microphone in the center of the room anymore. It was like you could do a few tracks. Like there
Yeah,
was
so
some
they
tape
started out, they
starting
could
to be
only do
used.
like 8-track, and then by the end of their career, it was like maybe 16 or 24 track or something.
Right.
So when you think about, okay, so we're really going down a rabbit hole here, but I enjoy it because I enjoy
leading
talking
into
about.
what I was wanting to talk about anyway.
So think about Jimi Hendrix.
Yes.
Okay, so Jimi Hendrix is really the one who revolutionized distortion.
Yes.
So before Jimmy, everybody's playing a clean or a very slightly crunchy tone.
That spank.
It is. It's a very spanky. Bam, 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 bam. Oh, that's rock and roll, bro.
Yeah.
That kind of shit.
Yeah.
Jimi Hendrix comes along and says, I'm going to turn the gain all the way up. We're going to turn that
Fuzz.
gain all the way up. We're going to play a
Fuzz.
right-handed Fender Stratocaster, left-handed with the strings inverted. That's how we're going to play it. And we're going to play solos with our teeth and behind our back, and we're going to be high on acid playing some of the heaviest distortion music you've ever heard. and we're gonna write songs about some of the wildest shit you've ever heard. And it's all about revolutionizing, right? Jimmy kind of took this idea of you talk about the Beatles and kind of their recording process and whatnot. Jimmy just wanted to create this. I'm the, if you will, in the late 60s, heaviest artist out there.
Jimmy created a guitar sound that really can't be mimicked.
You can't do it today. Good luck.
Yeah.
I haven't found it. I haven't found it at all. And it was this beautiful combination of psychedelic rock and early heavy metal.
Yeah, definitely.
Because Jimmy,
I can definitely see that.
Yeah, so I mean, if you go
and
listen,
blues as well.
If you go listen to Voodoo Child or Purple Haze or Hey Joe, any of those old Jimmy songs, they combine elements of so many different genres of music and then give it this super heavy distorted guitar for that time. Because let's be honest, the late 60s is when the Beatles are getting big.
Right.
They're not playing with distortion. They don't have distortion on their guitars at that time.
Well, they have one song. It's called Helter Skelter.
Helter Skelter. Okay, yeah, that's fair.
And
well, that's what inspired.
And that was one of the first supposedly
heavy metal songs.
I've listened. It's loud. You know. It's
big wall of noise, big wall of sound, as we call it.
Yeah, it's loud. It's not really metal though, but you know, it's hard rock for sure.
Jimmy. The thing about Jimmy, and we're really going down a rabbit hole here, and I apologize, Tyler. I hope this leads you into the point you wanted to make. Jimmy was the first guy to make guitar so cool, because Jimmy, when he's playing, whether it's live or on a record, he's switching pickups. He's playing with the volume knob. He's doing a lot of hammer-ons and pull-offs for the first time. He's doing some tapping. And, people talk about how Eddie Van Halen really invented tapping.
Yeah, dude, Van Halen, crazy.
He didn't, because Jimmy was doing some shit.
Early
if you
on.
go listen to Voodoo Child, like, that dude was doing some shit that was way ahead of its time.
It's just hard to touch what Jimmy did.
Jimi Hendrix is the greatest guitarist that's ever lived, in my opinion. I wouldn't have any band that I listen to today if it wasn't for Jimi Hendrix.
Yep.
And dude died at 27. He did all that before he turned 28 years old.
Right. Like, I grew older than Jimi Hendrix. That just blows my mind.
And Kurt Cobain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what's his name from The Doors? And
Jim Morrison.
And Randy Rhoads, and the list goes on. Yeah, there's plenty of them. But anyways, Tyler, I know you had a point you wanted to get to, buddy. I'm gonna let you get to it.
I'll be real quick, but it's so cool for us to have this conversation because we all have these different influences, but it seems like it's all stretching back to stuff we've already talked about and grew up. Jimmy. And
the Beatles,
Zeppelin,
and Elvis, and Sabbath,
all
whatever.
these bands. It's like
it's funny how it all comes.
We're not that different.
You're here, right? You're here. You have this, dude. The Beatles influenced so much modern hip hop.
I agree.
So much modern hip hop. So
they
did Bob Dylan.
Everything. Their harmonies are crazy.
The Mamas and the Papas. Like, there are so many of those '60s bands that influence what's going on today, and we all kind of crawl back. Fleetwood Mac's another one that I would say.
Good call there.
Fleetwood Mac, when you think about hip hop. Okay, so Stevie Nicks,
their bass lines,
their drum beats too.
Yeah,
Mick Fleetwood's drums were incredibly hip hop when you think about it today, but not just that. I'm talking lyrically, and lyrically in a rhythm sense.
Yeah, the way she delivers it,
the way that Stevie delivered the verses, especially, was very hip hop.
Yeah,
and this is in the early '70s.
I can see that.
So
she's just. Yeah,
the White Witch, dude. She's the most. I'm.
Hey, there's a reason Post Malone covered that.
Yeah, he did.
Song,
I'm surprised you know about that one.
Bro.
Yeah.
Oh my God! In high school, maybe shortly
I know
after
Tyler,
high
you
school.
don't like him, but Posty is so talented.
Bro, he did that cover of that song, and I like it more than I do the Fleetwood Mac song. That song.
I wouldn't say that, but
I do.
Stevie Nicks serenades me. So
Tyler,
quick.
No, go ahead.
We can trace all of our music love and interest back to the same 5 to 10 artists from the
foundation.
60s.
Yeah.
There's a base for it. Chuck Berry, Elvis,
yes,
Beatles.
Yes.
I mean, B.B. King. You can you can go back and be like, yep, this is where this all spans from. Dude, deathcore wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Jimi Hendrix or shit like that.
Right.
You think about
That's a
how
good point.
vastly different so many of the hip NF would not be here if it wasn't for the Beatles.
Right.
It's funny how we can trace all of this, and this goes back to, I don't remember if it was the last episode with Derek or the episode before where I talked about how there were so much fewer bands and artists in the 60s and 70s than there are now. And that's why they were able to be, they kind of held a monopoly over the industry, and they were able to, and not in a bad way.
Because you
but
couldn't even get in a studio back then unless you were like seriously
The real deal.
You had to
the
have
real
a,
deal.
You had to have a label behind you.
You had to be playing like you
You better walk in with
You've already
Atlantic
played
Records.
at least 100 shows.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, in your
You
life.
better walk in with Atlantic Records and say, hey, we're here to record a 10-song album, and it's going to be called Abbey Road, and it's going to change the world.
Yeah.
And, you know, or it's going to be, or I'm going to write the song Purple Haze and completely change rock and roll.
yeah.
So, and here's the thing. You know, Jimi Hendrix covers All Along the Watchtower, which is a Bob Dylan song. It's a folk song, and he turns
Nobody
it into...
knows. Yeah.
It's
Everybody
amazing.
everybody thinks it's a Jimi Hendrix song, and it's like, no, it's
Bob
a Bob
Dylan wrote
Dylan
a
song.
lot of songs that people
Yep.
don't know, like Heaven's Door, Knocking on Heaven's Door.
Yep, that's a Bob Dylan song.
Yep. Yep.
But people, I'm not taking anything away from Bob Dylan, but Bob Dylan was folk. He
Yeah.
was folk music.
His singing style wasn't
Catchy.
super melodic.
No.
Yeah.
Right.
Very
like,
monotone.
yeah.
It was folk music.
Yeah.
Folk music is
that
very...
was during a time when like singer-songwriters were becoming a thing, whereas before then, it was always you had the songwriter and then you gave that song to a performer that had the
Exactly.
voice
That was
Yeah.
the 50s
that
and
looked
early
good.
60s.
Yeah, Elvis. We talked
Yeah.
about Elvis.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was.
You gave it to a pretty boy that could sing.
Yep. And then it was. Then you had Bob Dylan and oh fuck, trying to think of some of the bands that came out.
Simon and Garfunkel.
Yeah.
Hall and Oates. That's
Hall and
70s,
Oates,
but
Grateful
yeah.
Dead.
Grateful Dead.
Yeah,
Like Eric Clapton. I mean, Cream.
You could go on and
Cream.
on for days, but
I mean, Eric Clapton's an incredible songwriter.
definitely.
But
And a
he
great
played
guitarist.
pretty much all his shit.
What
you know?
band was Neil Young with?
I know Neil Young, but I'm not sure what band he was with.
Yeah,
I don't know.
either.
It was some group he was part of, and like they came out at that time because that dude can't sing worth a fuck. But like
But Bob
they
Dylan
wrote,
can't
they
sing,
wrote,
you know?
yeah, he
No,
can't
he
sing
can't.
either.
But Jimi
but
Hendrix
they
could.
wrote
Yeah.
amazing songs, and it was this stance of I love writing music, but I also love playing music.
And you're going to deal
and
with it.
You're going to deal with me,
Yep.
me doing it myself,
Buffalo
or
Springfield?
whatever. And I think Bob Dylan
Was it Buffalo?
Buffalo Springfield.
Yeah,
I never heard of that
Um,
band, but
but
But you've heard of Neil
I've
Young.
heard of Neil Young because he's wrote a bunch of good songs.
But like Bob Dylan, I remember hearing, it was like a documentary or something, and like there was a show he got to, and he had like changed his sound or something. People were pissed off, and he basically just said something like, "You don't like what I got to play, then fuck you," or some shit like that.
Bro, that's
Paraphrasing.
like... Yeah.
That's metal as fuck.
That's metal as
That's
fuck.
metal as fuck. But what was going to be your point?
It's been a half hour. I think you should probably get into it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I thought we were trying to lead you into it.
yeah. Well, we
we
were there,
but
for
then we
a
got
bit,
a little bit off course.
But it's like, you as a producer, so I mean, I know you probably do things for other bands, but you're mostly, or other artists, but you're also mostly doing things for yourself, right?
sure.
Yeah, you selfish
So
fuck.
what kind of setup are you working with right now?
Like gear-wise?
Yeah, we're gonna gear out. For
Oh,
a second.
gearhead. Well,
So
I'm
I
gonna
got
take a piss.
an iMac, and it's an Aston Stealth microphone with a SSL Logic interface.
Logic has they
No,
make
it's
interfaces.
solid state Logic interface. It's solid
Okay.
state Logic.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's kind of funny. This thing can turn up to 11.
Oh.
That's a reference to what's that movie?
Oh.
I'm
I've
not a
heard
movie
I've
buff.
heard the reference.
I'm not a movie buff.
I don't remember it.
Damn it. They're gonna shit on me if I don't know that movie. Because we used to reference that movie all the time in school. But
Listeners, do not shit on him.
damn, I can't think of it. But yeah,
It'll hit you.
it's a good movie. But yeah, so like that's what I'm working with: iMac, the mic, and the interface. It's only got two inputs. But,
Okay.
Yeah.
So you recently started learning to play guitar.
Yeah. I play guitar for
And-
about 3 years now.
Yeah, so you started to learn to play guitar and you're starting to record it and whatnot. What is the experience been? What kind of challenges have you dealt with learning to record a live instrument other than just vocals?
The challenges?
Yeah, I mean, what's the experience been like? The positives, the negatives, the challenges?
The challenge is I don't consider myself a musician. I believe I'm a composer.
That's fair.
Okay.
I don't think enough people distinguish the difference.
Because I just try to come up with the arrangement and the sort of the foundation of the instrumental,
Yeah.
if you will, and then I just lay that down and like dub it a bunch of times, like I can play songs live. I can definitely play songs live, like a couple, but there's a few that I don't think I could probably play live right now, because I'm just laying it down on the computer.
Yeah.
It's like just record this part and then
Yeah.
switch over, and now I'm recording this part just to kind of loop it, sort of thing.
Right. I'd have to practice for a while to play these live.
Are you doing more looping, or are you, because like with your rock album, there was a lot of songs where while I listened to it, it sounded more like you looped it.
Yeah.
Whereas in rock and stuff, normally people are just playing through it.
Right.
But there are times where, like, if it's...
I definitely, I basically used my hip hop sort of mentality, I guess, where I know this is like blasphemous.
Careful.
But like, yeah, I just recorded a guitar part and like looped it.
Yeah.
That's not blasphemous. No,
And
you're good.
like, I'm making an instrumental like that,
How many people are even, bro? It's not like there's people that even know how to do that, let alone do it at a high level. So don't worry about
Yeah.
it being blasphemous. You're good.
But
I
like,
couldn't do that.
I'm
I
not
couldn't figure out how to do that.
I'm not playing at a high level. Like I'm just playing basic shit, like these chords that you probably learned day one. Like
I wouldn't say day one, but I know what you mean.
But melodically, I don't know if it turns out decent. Like it's some weird shit. I'm not gonna lie. Like I don't know how I feel about it because I listen to it and sometimes I think it's trash, and then other times I'm like, well, this is.
You think your own shit's trash?
Yeah, sometimes I'm like, man, this isn't even good. I don't even know if I want to release this.
That sounds like a great musician to me. It's very self-critical.
Yeah, so like a lot of times I'm like, man, this sucks. But then other times I listen to it in the car, I'm like, well, this is actually pretty decent. This is actually pretty good. Like
Yeah.
It's weird. It's weird because I'm sure like when you're an artist, you listen to yourself so many times, you can't distinguish what's good anymore.
I try not to listen to
Damn.
myself very often because I am the most self-critical. I think I am a dog shit guitarist. Dog shit.
So does Preston, apparently.
He does think I'm a terrible guitarist.
I did not say
You're a
that.
piece of shit.
Or
He
do
does.
that.
He does think I am a
That's a
terrible
lie.
guitarist. He thinks I'm a horrible guitarist.
I think you gave up on the instrument, but that's another story.
Well, I did go through a period where I gave up on the instrument. Yes, I will fully admit that. I am no longer in that period.
I think we
but
all do.
Oh,
I
yeah.
am no longer in that element where I gave up on the. I play every day. I'm trying to get back up to get back to a point where I'm like, oh, okay, I'm a pretty decent guitarist. I'm getting back, but I gave up on it for a year.
Yeah.
So it's like riding a bike. You never forget, but you get rusty. So, but I think a great musician has to be at least critical to some extent, right?
You do.
Because if you're not, if you're immediately satisfied, how are you ever going to get better?
If you're just like okay with putting out mediocre shit, then like you know,
God, you bring
Amity
up
affliction.
Listen, oh, Jesus Christ. You bring up a great point, Mitch, because Tyler talked about this on a previous episode of, you know, when it comes to referring to local bands, you know, you have to really make sure that your craft is being honed and you're putting together a quality product before you put it out to the public.
correct.
So you talked about if you're satisfied making mediocre music, what are you really offering to your listeners?
Right.
That's your customer. You are a salesman as an artist.
Right.
And if you cannot offer a quality product to people, why the fuck should they listen to you? I'm in a local
gotta be
band.
worth their time,
I'm a
man.
local artist. Support local music. I'm not going to if you're half-assing it and you fucking suck.
Yeah.
Do something different. Make me go, oh, that's new. That's different. Give me something that makes me feel something in some way, shape, or form. And you when you said you cannot be mediocre, there's a million mediocre musicians out there. If you want to be successful, or at least have some level of success and achieve some level of success, you can't be mediocre.
Yeah, so you know, like you listen to it and you're like, do I got to do that over again? You really got to really ask yourself, like, do I got to do that over again? Because is this good enough, or is this, you know,
Take one
what
might
I
be
want it
okay,
to sound like?
but take 22 might be better.
Right, exactly. So you got to do multiple takes, but sometimes you do get that rare instance where
Take
the
one.
first take is just like crazy, you know?
Right. It's perfect.
Yes.
I think that is something, you know, the couple of the few producers that I've dealt with Screaming Evidence has mentioned about us, is just that, dude, like for Sean can normally hit his entire vocal performance for a song in a couple of takes.
Like
Me,
in, out.
Yeah.
I was
Crazy.
in and out of the studio doing my bass parts. And the dude was literally taking videos of me playing some of this shit, like my one time through, and it was like, all right, we just got to punch here and here for like 10 seconds.
Well,
here.
Sean has
done.
always been, you know, pretty precise with his pitch.
Well, he practices.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then there's also times when, you know, we might get compliments where I'll fuck something up and I'll be like, hey, go back to this point here in the song. I recognize that I fucked up. I got to redo that real quick. I got to punch in there.
Yep.
And they'll be like, most people would just ask me to edit that. It's like, well, yeah, but like, no, let's not just edit the whole thing.
Make it naturally good.
But yeah, let's redo it. Let's go ahead and run the track again. See if I can get a better take. You gotta take that. Okay.
Sometimes you get important phone calls.
Sometimes you do. But kind of forget where I was going with that.
What were
Alcohol does that too.
you, what were you saying?
Yeah, so like being in the studio and certain producers
Oh yeah,
giving us compliments around.
They take up like your first take. You know, you're just good.
Well, it's that, and then also recognizing like, hey, I fucked this up. I got to redo this, because a lot of bands, a lot of artists go into the studio and they just think that the producer, that the sound engineer can just fix everything, every fuck up they made, and make this person sound amazing.
That's not the case.
And it's like, it's not.
No, you
Not
got to
the case, and
redo
that's
it
not the
to your own
point either.
satisfaction.
Yep.
You can't just have somebody manually pitch correct your whole performance and
It's
think
not real.
No.
Well, and you make a good point where we talk about we're critical of ourselves, and I go back to a
You're
time.
just especially critical of me.
I go back to a time where I told Kyler he fucking sucked at the guitar. No, I'm just kidding.
Those words have never come out of his mouth.
No.
Let's just say that.
There was an insinuation made.
There was an insinuation. Yeah, well,
All
our
I
shit's
said-
super easy to
I
play.
know, I said it's not that hard.
But look.
Anyway.
Kyler was like really happy with himself. He's like, yeah, man, I've been learning these songs. you know, it makes me really happy learning this. And Preston's like, yeah, but like they're not that hard.
And I didn't mean it in that tone, but of course.
And as
that's the
soon
way
as he
came
said
out.
it, he was like, "Wow, that sounded awful."
But-
and I was like, "Oh, you fucking piece of shit! I
Yeah,
guess
but-
I'm just a shitty
But
guitarist."
Kyler can't say much because he's got me twice on my singing. So there
Not
you
on
go.
your. Was it on your singing or
It
on
was
your
on my
screaming?
singing because we were talking shit about Avenged Sevenfold, and I was like, I'm not a great singer either. And you were like,
I'm
yeah.
gonna take you down memory lane.
Agreed with him.
I'm gonna
Well-
take you down memory lane. Do you remember when we were slightly intoxicated, and I'm not gonna say off of what, and we were in here and we did Nutshell together
Ooh.
on the mics?
Ooh, yeah,
Do you
because
remember
I
that?
was starting to play a little bit through the PA when I would practice so that I can like hear myself better. And you and I got on the microphones and Lord,
So I
Hey,
went
can
back
I
through
just
my
say greatest song ever written?
graded.
yes,
Thank you. Yes.
Hey, I told you guys
That's
he
metal
fit
as
in.
fuck.
Told you guys he
Nutshell
fit
is
in.
the greatest song ever written. Yes. So I was, you know how Snapchat gives you like your memories from however many years ago on this date or
Did it
this
come
date.
up? Did we do it?
It came up. I recorded it.
Bro, send that to me.
Okay, I will.
Love you.
I love you. This was, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago.
Sounds about right.
And it was just me and Tyler in here, and he was like, "Bro, I learned Nutshell," and I was like, "Let's play it. Let's
Well,
sing it."
I've
thought
known
Sean
I've
knew
known
Nutshell.
Nutshell
Yeah.
for a very long
You
time.
relearned it.
But I started singing and playing again, and I was like, you know, hey, I know you like this.
Let's
do
sing it. And so we plugged the mics in, and I recorded it, and we just like it was, I don't know, it was like a spiritual experience. Bro.
Why
Like,
you didn't
It was
release
bone
it?
chilling.
You didn't release it?
we didn't even record it on like the mics.
Oh,
No,
I
okay.
just
we were
put
just
my
running it
phone
through the
up and
PA.
recorded it.
Got you.
And we just wanted to like run it through the PA, hear
Yeah.
ourselves, make sure we were in key and all that shit. But should we have recorded it? Yes, to keep it. Absolutely. Do we need to do it again? You're goddamn right we do. But
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
it was so cool. You know, you just talk about certain experiences that you have with music, and that was one that I will literally never forget. One, because it's in my phone, but two, it's just like, man, that's so cool. Like, this is our favorite song ever,
Yeah.
and I'm singing it with my boy. Like, it's cool, man. I can't sing to
You're
save
my
my
boy,
fucking life.
Blue.
Sean covered that like back in the day.
Yep, he's the one that taught me that song.
So I don't want to get off of any certain topic, but Mitch,
I mean,
like
I
an
didn't finish
hour.
my point. But
Oh shit! I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm
here
sorry.
I am being
Go
the
ahead.
asshole.
No. You're
No,
not being
and
an
I
asshole.
don't.
Go
I
ahead.
don't know that
Shut
I'll,
the fuck up, guys. I got my turn to talk.
I don't know that I'll be able to land this
plane.
properly. Yeah, but like we've talked about being overly critical of ourselves, and I think of certain examples. Like when I first started being with the band and playing music, and we put a song together, like for the first time as a 4-piece rather than a 3-piece, and I'm like, man, this is cool, this is good. And then maybe we record it or we hear it back, and I listen back through it, and I'm like,
That ain't it.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
that,
right.
It's not. This has got to go here. That's boring. That's scripted. Like felt scripted. Like that. That's not it. This
Yeah.
has got to change. So I relate in a sense of you're talking about how we are overly critical of ourselves, and maybe it's a personal flaw for maybe a lot of
I
us.
think it's just artists, man. Like,
it is. It's the artistic mind.
True artists that actually care about their product.
yeah.
Yes.
Like even if you draw, like you're gonna erase that shit 100 times before you fucking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's any kind. I think you made a good point where it's any kind of artist.
I mean, it took Leonardo da Vinci years to finish the Mona Lisa.
Yeah.
You know, it's just
like, you know, yeah. You just get in this zone where like you're like, man, this has gotta. This
I
gotta
know
be
what I'm
better.
after, and this
Dude.
isn't it.
Screaming Evidence's most popular song is "Say." It's the most downloaded Screaming Evidence song. How old is that song?
So that
We've talked
song
about it before.
started in the summer of 2012,
And it wasn't
way.
released until
Yeah.
2020.
and it was. I'm trying to think.
And there's
It
still
was
shit.
probably 2017,
17.
2018 that Sean, me and him were kind of tinkering around with it again because I had found the lyrics. we lost the lyrics, and I found it in my acoustic case, because when we wrote it, we were at this camp, his family's campgrounds in Michigan, and it was like 115 degrees, and we're chilling in these fucking cabins.
Damn.
It was horrible, but we ended up writing this song, and had the lyrics to it, and we ended up finding them, and so we were going to start bringing it back, but Sean was like, I don't like the verses very much, and I was like, well, what do you want, bro? And he's like, I kind of want this, and I was like, all right, chord, here you go. And then the verses changed of Say, but from there he ended up writing a whole new like lyrical song to
Later
this,
on?
after we changed the verses.
Yeah.
So that song took years to develop. Sarcasm was a perfect example of a song that, we wrote in high school. I was in like probably 11th grade when we first kind of wrote the riffs and stuff.
But
to
you
it,
guys'
but
shit
it took
is so
forever
complex, man.
Beijing
Like,
Green's an old ass song too that was,
Mhm.
Came out on Inhibitions.
their shit is so complex.
It's very complex.
That like to think of these chord progressions,
Mm-hmm.
like it can take a long time to arrange that
Mhm.
in a satisfying manner.
Well, and it goes back to, sorry, Preston, I don't mean to cut you off, but you go back to the being an artist that actually cares about their product. Well, they're not going to put something out, especially now, if it is not, this is perfect. This is exactly what we want.
But
We've
we're
talked
still
about
not happy with what we've put out.
No.
Right,
We've
right.
talked about that on this show.
I'm not happy with everything I've put out.
Yeah.
Like
I'm not
We're
happy
never
with,
going to be thrilled.
I'm not
Yeah.
happy with the dick that I've put out, but here we are. What are we going to do?
Hey, we'll find out if there's a second child. That's how you know you did it right.
She's still with me, bro. God love her. God love the woman. She's still here, so we're on the right track. But you're correct. If there's a second child, we'll know if like that girl loves you.
That's my response
love.
to anyone that says anything about my performance. I'm like, hey, I got 2 kids. I know I'm doing something right.
Facts. So I mean, I'm
There's proof
halfway.
I got
there.
in there twice.
Halfway there. So.
that's the proof.
Well, Mitch, you brought it up like over an hour ago, but I do want to get back to it. You said I wanted to bring up metal.
Yeah.
So I wanted to circle back to that and make sure that you got the opportunity to bring up metal because, hey, we are a metal podcast, so let's hear it, bro.
Yeah, I wanted to just say, Metallica,
Yes, sir.
like, huge influence on me.
Okay.
Love.
In what sense?
Just love One.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Love that fucking song. Love, Ride the Lightning, that whole album.
My favorite Metallica album ever. Yes.
Master of Puppets, just all their shit, basically. But like new metal, like Drowning Pool and
God, we talked about Drowning Pool a couple episodes ago, dude. Drowning Pool was my shit.
they were freaking hard.
Yeah,
bro.
they
They
were,
were like,
man.
they were
Raise
like.
your hand if you're a sinner. Guilty.
Yeah.
So Drowning Pool, in a way, was like one of the original, what we think of as hardcore now. Like, I know
Yeah.
so many people think about Drowning Pool as a new metal band, but like their lyrics and their just the flow of their music reminds me so much of like modern day hardcore.
I
Where
love
it's
that first
so-
album, dude.
Center?
Yeah, Center.
Where
Was that the
it's-
first one?
I thought so.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm
I don't know.
wrong. I thought, yeah, Center.
With their
It's-
original vocalist.
It's
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
he
he
died,
died.
didn't he?
Yeah, he died.
It's so angry and just fucking. That's what hardcore is. It's pissed off and Drowning
Bodies, Reminded of You.
Pool. You got
freaking-
it, bro. You know what's up.
Freaking, yeah, all that good stuff. And then Disturbed. I was going to bring up Disturbed.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah.
and-
Disturbed was one of the bands that I thought did a great job, especially in the early 2000s, of bringing new metal fans to quote unquote modern metal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
just with their that's better than I could do it. But yes, with their like they were so guitar driven, especially early on, and single guitar band. I believe they're still a single guitar band. They don't have.
Are they?
I thought so.
As far as I know, but I
Is that
could
a
be wrong.
3-piece?
No,
It's
it's
a
4-piece.
Because David Draymond doesn't play an instrument.
Got you.
But
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah.
they did a great job of bringing new metal fans into it. Disturbed to me was like if Creed fucked Slipknot,
Right. That's a good
you
one.
got
Had a
Disturbed,
baby.
and had a baby, you had Disturbed.
Disturbed is the product of baby fucking.
It was like
Pineapple
dad rock.
Express.
Yeah.
It was like dad rock fuck new metal, and here we go. We got Disturbed.
They got
Love it.
yeah, they got some crazy shit, man. And then Korn.
Okay, so big new metal fan. I'm feeling.
Maybe not a big new metal fan, but definitely a new metal fan.
I like, yeah, and then just straight. Let me think here. I went to a Slipknot concert.
That's one thing I have not done. I've never seen Slipknot live. Unfortunately, I've seen
It-
Korn live.
It was
but
Rock on the Range, so it was
That
like
counts.
a lot of
don't
people,
get
you
mad,
know.
it counts. Yeah.
But
How was the show? Because I've heard mixed reviews about them live because of all the percussion.
yeah, it was a lot of percussion.
It's a lot of percussion.
3 percussionists.
Yeah. It sounded good though live. It definitely sounded good.
Now Preston, I believe, has seen Slipknot live as well, and I'd be interested to hear what you thought of them live.
Of course, it was a circus. And they sounded, I mean, I think I was a senior in high school, if I'm not mistaken, but they were awesome. I
Yeah, it sounded
absolutely
really
loved
good
it.
live when
Yeah.
I saw them at
Yep.
Rock on the Range.
Mitch, who has been your favorite metal band to see live? Like, what's the? Let me rephrase this. Maybe not even metal, but what's been the best live show you've ever been to? Who was it?
For me, Pearl Jam.
No,
So you've seen Pearl Jam live?
In 2013, I
Okay.
saw Pearl Jam, and they played for like an hour and a half or more. They played like 2 hours damn near.
Jeez.
And like it was a long ass set list. They did an encore,
yeah.
and they played just everything from their whole discography. They just played everything. And
Still sounded good that many years later.
this dude, Eddie Vedder, bro, he was swinging from a light. He was swinging from a lantern. He just drank a whole bottle of wine.
Okay, that sounds
And
like
he-
Eddie Vedder.
And he was swinging from a lantern while singing. He falls off the, like, this is like a hanging light.
like a stage light.
Yeah, like a hanging light. He jumps on it. He starts swinging from it while he's singing. Then he falls off. He falls straight on his ass, like on his back. Then he's still singing while he's on the ground. And like it's just like still perfect pitch. Like
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
it's like
Well, what's crazy too is like that dude's like a pack a day smoker kind of thing too,
Eddie
and
is?
has been for like ever.
Really? Interesting. I didn't know that.
and so I don't know. It's just like instinctive to him to be
Yeah.
able to. But like back in the 90s, he used to jump off the rafters like
Yeah.
high up there.
Yeah.
He used to jump off the freaking, you know,
the top speaker.
the
set.
top rails
Yeah.
to crowd surf. Like he's crazy, dude.
Dude, I did not know that about Eddie Vedder. I like Pearl Jam, but not like one of my all-time favorite grunge bands by any means. But
he's
like,
crazy, man. And I just my dad, you know, I saw that with my dad, so it's kind of a
sentimental
you know,
thing.
it's a sentimental
That's awesome.
memory for
That's
me.
awesome.
It's awesome. My dad
So-
would never go to metal shows with me. He was like, "Oh, I'll go see fucking Luke Combs." I'm like, "All right, Dad, whatever. That's cool." But like, monuments,
Yeah. Let's go fucking headbang, Dad.
like, let's go punch people in the pit, Dad. Like, oh, I'm fucking 50 years old, son. I ain't doing that. All right, well, Dad, whatever. I've tried to get my dad into like the shit that I listen to, and he's like, "Well, this isn't Metallica," and I'm like, "No, Dad, it's not Metallica. And, it ain't worth the fuck." Then
Yeah, my
Okay,
dad.
Jamie,
my
whatever.
dad got me into grunge, so
That's awesome. Me
his
too.
favorite band was Pearl Jam.
super
okay.
weird because our dads would be the same age. My dad was never into grunge. It's like he could not get out of he went straight from thrash and glam metal to dad rock.
Right.
Like he went from Cinderella and Rat and Metallica and Megadeth to Creed.
Right.
Like that he missed the entire. He doesn't like Pantera even. Like there's all those bands. He doesn't like Guns N' Roses. If they were in the
So he
90s,
just doesn't like the 90s.
no, he doesn't like the 90s.
Was he a Chains fan?
No.
Oh,
really?
my
I figured your
God.
dad was, since you're so into him.
No, I don't even know how I became such the like worshiper of Alice in Chains that I am. because my dad was not a huge Alice in Chains fan. So he, like I said, he went from, I grew up on, so my dad's a gigantic Kiss fan.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so we had the Destroyer on vinyl, the Destroyer album on vinyl. Like that was Ace Frehley's the reason I started playing guitar. Kirk Hammett's the reason I started playing heavy music.
I like Kiss a lot, by the way.
Same.
Can't stand them.
I
You
loved
don't.
Kiss
Can't
growing
stand
up.
them.
Not like I
Never
listened to
to
him.
their music.
Not like I listen to him anymore, but I grew up on Kiss.
Yeah,
And-
like it took me the movie Role Models to really get into them.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That was a great movie.
Yeah.
So for some reason, my dad skipped the entire 1990s musically, and went, he went from 80s to, and then the 2000s come along, and he loves Creed and Fuel and a lot of those dad rock bands. He loves Shinedown, loves Seether, Stain, Three Doors Down, Breaking Benjamin, Godsmack, all the dad rock bands. Like, that's my dad's shit. But could never get him into metalcore, man. Could not get him into heavy shit. Even like something like Korn or Slipknot, just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Tried like hell, but
My
couldn't do
dad went to a Metallica concert back in the day, so that's pretty cool.
it. That's
I like
a whole
your
ass
dad.
experience, bro.
Haven't even met him, but I like your dad.
Oh yeah.
Same.
Yeah, he was a cool ass dude, but yeah, he's the one who showed me all the rock, all of it.
That's awesome,
Yeah.
man. That's
It all
awesome.
comes from something. We've talked about it so
Yeah.
many times on this show. We all, if our dads didn't listen to something of that nature, it would have been harder for us to find what it is we love today. Because, man, if I wouldn't have grown up on Metallica, I'd have never picked up a guitar.
Yep.
I'd have never got into the earlier metalcore bands that were kind of like, I called them thrashcore, like Killswitch, All That Remains, As I Lay Dying, Bullet for My Valentine, the real pioneers of modern day metalcore, because they had those elements of thrash metal in them, and that's why I got into that kind of music,
Yeah.
right? And if it wasn't for my dad showing me Metallica and Megadeth, I would have never got into those bands.
Yep.
So we got to kind of thank our elders on that one.
And what about Pantera? How do you feel about them?
I love Pantera. So Pantera to me was the combination of when you think about metalcore today. I read the definition of it, right? It's extreme metal and hardcore punk. Well, isn't that what Pantera was?
Pretty much.
They had
Pretty much, yeah.
Phil Anselmo was screaming.
yeah.
It was a different kind of scream, but he was screaming, and it was very melodic guitar work by Dimebag, and
yeah,
it's-
Dimebag's a legend, dude.
one of the greatest guitarists
Yeah.
ever drawn a breath. Yeah, and so
Riff
when you
master.
Riff master.
riff master, yeah, but he's also a solo master too. So when you think about modern day metalcore, I mean, Pantera was kind of doing some of that
Way
shit
ahead of
back
their
then,
time.
right? Like they had some thrashy shit too. Like go listen to Domination. That shit's fast as fuck.
Yeah.
But in the 90s, grunge is dominating everything,
Yeah.
and you have this underground, hardcore, crazy distortion,
Mm-hmm.
fast, piss the fuck off dudes called Pantera that started as a hair metal band, believe it or not. If you didn't know that, you do now. Pantera was a hair metal band, and Pantera is the Spanish word for panther.
Right.
Just throwing that out
That's.
there.
I
But
did not know they did hair
they
metal.
were a hair metal band before, Cowboys from Hell, Vulgar Display of Power, all that shit in the early to mid 90s.
That's interesting.
And they were compare Pantera to somebody else. Find me another band that's just like Pantera,
It's hard to do.
Good luck. because I've yet to find one. It's not Guns N' Roses. It's
Hell
not.
no.
I mean, it's not Alice in Chains. It's not Pearl Jam. In the 90s, there was Pantera, and then there was grunge.
Yeah,
And
I can agree with that.
Metallica goes, what's the word I'm looking for? Mainstream in the 90s.
Yeah, definitely. That Black Album, the Black Album.
The Black Album was the start of it, and then Load and Reload really went mainstream and softer.
Still love them.
Not saying they're not. I do too.
Yeah.
They're good albums, but it's not what they were. So a lot of the fans that were pissed off when Metallica made that sonic change from the thrash metal to the more mainstream metal had to find an outlet, right? And they either went to grunge or they went to something like Pantera. And most likely the fans that were pissed off that Metallica wasn't thrashy anymore gravitated towards Pantera.
Yeah, and it's like the grunge fans were like at odds with the metal fans, even though they were doing shows together. It was kind of weird. It was
Yeah,
kind
I
of
mean,
a weird
Alice in Chains
scene.
played with Metallica.
Yeah.
And Jerry Cantrell, you know, his biggest influence is Metallica. And we got into, not an argument, but a little bit of a disagreement where I almost consider Alice in Chains metal versus grunge.
I was about to, dude.
Because of
Alice in
Jerry
Chains
Cantrell.
has a lot of metal in their shit, don't you think?
Tyler bounces back and forth with it because
I see the argument, and I see
here's my thing: is
There's
Alice in
merit.
Chains metal or is just grunge metal? Because bands like Nirvana,
It's hard to
are
define
not
what
Alice
grunge
in Chains.
is.
Yeah, we don't know what grunge is, but Nirvana isn't grunge.
Nirvana is not grunge.
Right.
Nirvana's punk.
They're punk. Thank you. They're punk.
Yep.
that's what
people
I've been saying.
People can fight with me. All you fucking listeners out there, you can fight with us if you want. Nirvana is punk. They are not.
It was like pop punk
Yes.
because Kurt Cobain was so influenced by old pop music like the Beatles and stuff, but he was also influenced by
Black
this
Flag
new
and
wave
stuff.
of
Punk.
punk music that was emerging in
Three
like,
Chord
the
Hero is what he
80s and
was.
stuff, and he kind of combined it.
Then he became a double out buckshot hero.
Oh, Christ.
That's the second episode. I've talked about that.
Man, you keep bashing on this dude, and like Mitch and I over here, we love Kurt Cobain.
Yeah.
We love his music.
I was gonna say Nirvana
I don't have
is
a
my
problem with him.
Nirvana's my biggest influence. One of them.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I really don't want to. I guess I just want to counter with you. This is always interesting to me when people say Nirvana.
Despite
Here we go. Here we go.
Rap battle.
I have.
finish him.
Yo, it's Jay Kurt. I have the utmost respect for anybody that has musical influences. But
Yeah.
I'm always curious because I think Kurt Cobain is so bland
Right.
and mundane. He's a 3-chord hero.
Right.
He played the same 3 chords
Power
in every one of
chords.
his fucking songs.
The guitar was an
But
accent
I don't
to what he
think
did.
that's any different than like hair metal and stuff. They were all playing a few
But
bar
like,
chords.
if
There
you
were-
listen to his interviews, he's not saying like, he says, "I'm not a great musician. I just am a songwriter," basically.
Yep.
So like, he's just.
Is it his angst that got you?
I'll tell you what. It's the guitar tones.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of his like, how is he singing while straining his voice that much, but he's still perfect pitch?
Mm-hmm.
Or, it's just sort of his like, his lyrics are really abstract
Yes.
and like,
There was a lot of drugs.
yeah, his lyrics
New
are
Sleep Token fan.
abstract and not like normal lyrics.
Mhm.
They're very cryptic, if you will. So you combine all that and it makes for an interesting band, in my opinion.
Yeah. And my whole thing was that I never understood, and Preston, I've had this conversation before, I've never understood why Nirvana has such longevity compared to bands like Alice in Chains, when I personally consider Alice in Chains so much more musically talented and deep than Nirvana.
And because they weren't using they were using much more simple chords like power chords and whatnot.
Yeah, I think it's because of our guitar background. Like that's what we were after.
Very
And
musically driven.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're
Tyler,
good. It
go
was
ahead,
just
yeah.
it was more songwriting with Nirvana than it was more riffy, shit.
Well, there's 2 parts. There's the pop influence, and so you have some of those pop formulas, and we've talked about it on the show where it's like people don't want to be surprised. They
Yep.
they don't want all this super complicated shit, whereas Alice in Chains have very complicated harmonies.
Mm-hmm.
Their songwriting was not just generic shit. But I mentioned it was either the first or the second episode, I was talking about a band called A Story Told, and it was like we were just kind of talking about bands that we'd been listening to lately and recommending some stuff for people to talk about, and what gravitates me towards that band isn't that they're super complicated. You know, the songs that they're writing aren't crazy. It's, as a composer, you're choosing a melody and a cadence and a rhythm, and then you're choosing, how am I going to harmonize with that?
Right.
What harmonies am I going to choose? And for that band, it was very much, the reason I enjoy listening to them is I love the choices that they made. And so for Nirvana, it's kind of the same thing where it's like, you know, Kurt was doing quite a bit for being a singer-songwriter that wasn't a super talented vocalist, wasn't a super talented guitar player, but he's having to do both at the same time.
Yeah.
And so he was very limited in what he could really do live, so he didn't write anything.
Can I make one
super
point?
I'm about to
complicated.
argue the shit out
But-
of you.
Can I
Go
make
ahead,
one
Mitch.
point real quick? Can I make one point real quick?
Yeah, that's all you.
I think that the biggest thing that Nirvana influenced was that structure of quiet, and then it just explodes on the chorus. So
Yeah.
like you have
The
this
dynamics.
Yeah, the
Yep.
dynamics. That's
Yep.
the biggest thing they influenced.
Yeah.
All right, Tyler. I'm about to
He's
make
going
you
to bring
look
up
stupid,
James
boy.
Hetfield while
You
he's
fucking knew it.
he's
I'm about
bringing
to
up
make you
James
look
Hetfield
stupid.
while he
Watch.
picks fast
Watch.
as fuck.
Well,
Watch.
it's,
No.
I know what you're going to say
Shut,
because he is really good at playing complicated stuff on the
So
guitar
why
while singing.
the fuck is Nirvana almost as big as Metallica? Because James Hetfield runs fucking laps around Kurt Cobain when it comes to 1, vocal talent, 2, guitar talent, and 3, putting the two together.
Because at the same time that Metallica is very good at what they do, it's still sometimes too complicated for
Yeah,
the,
the
average
average
listener.
listener. Yes.
So
And Nirvana connected with more people.
Yep.
It's not that they were better than any of these other bands. They connected with more people because more people understood their music.
Yep.
But yeah, I just think he had dark lyrics along with Alice in Chains. I think that era of grunge, you know, really just was sort of about that depression or about that sort of, you know, inner torture, the torture of your inner
Angst.
self. Yeah,
Right.
angst.
Well, there was a ton of that feeling at that time. I mean, you think about what was going on kind of in the world, in the country during that like late 80s, early 90s, and I think a lot of people really connected with that angst of, you know, grunge and punk, and I think Nirvana was able to capture that and deliver it in a way that a lot of people were able to enjoy the music
Relate with.
sonically, but also relate with what he was talking about.
And so,
And there was like a
So
simple
what's your
structured
counter-argument?
feel to it.
Yeah, people didn't have to guess what was coming next.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just always struggled with it because when I think of, you know, James Hetfield versus, excuse me, Kurt Cobain, it's like, yeah, James was doing that times 10, lyrically, vocally, musically. So I always struggled with the Nirvana thing. But, you know, when you think about how much sense it makes as far as a listenability standpoint, Nirvana was definitely a lot easier for the majority of people, the average Joe, to listen to and be like, yeah, man, I vibe to that, than something off of Ride the Lightning.
right, for sure.
You know, it's just, it's all, we talk about it all the time. It's subjective. It's all subjective. And that's why when I can relate, Nirvana was the, I Prevail and Beartooth are the modern day Nirvana.
But like my whole
Yeah,
thing
I
is
see
like,
what you
how do
mean.
you hate Nirvana but defend Nickelback?
I'll fight. I'll fight you. We'll fight. Don't fuck with my Nickelback.
Yep.
Because I thought Puddle of Mud and Nickelback, I feel like they're just rip-off bands of like
Yeah.
early grunge.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of metalcore
Post-grunge.
bands that are
Puddle
like
of Mud
that
had
too.
some fucking jams though, man.
But I love
Control.
Puddle of Mud. I love Puddle of Mud.
Yeah.
I'm not going to shit on Disturbed, but Disturbed is the same thing.
It's a
so is
rip-off
Five Finger
band.
Death Punch.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's
You
so many
could say
bands that
that.
we've talked about that are like, I call them radio core or what octane core. that are just like, yeah, I want to be a metalhead, but I don't like unclean vocals, or I don't like, whatever.
Or I'm not talented enough to do this.
Or I'm
yeah.
not musically educated enough to understand what's going on in this.
Sure.
So I listen to Five Finger Death Punch. And I am so guilty. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'm so guilty of judging people for being that way. I cannot. It is so unrealistic of me to expect everybody to dissect music on the level that I do or we do as a group here and be like, well, I'm a metal elitist, and if you don't listen to X, Y, and Z, then you're not a real metalhead. And that's very unfair of me to be that way, and I'm getting better. I still have my moments, but I think all of us defend the music that we love so fiercely that sometimes we have the tendency to be like, why the fuck do you like that? Because that's not as good as this.
And I used to be like that because I used to, bash other people that was popular and stuff. But at the end of the day, you have these memories that are associated with that particular artist. So then, like, you might start to warm up to them in a retrospective sense.
It's all about growth, right?
Yeah.
I mean, being a musician, being an artist, and being a music fan, it's all about growth. And we've talked about that a lot tonight. And so, Mitch, I want to thank you for coming on, man. It's been a pleasure. It's fucking interesting, super unique conversation that we've had, and I'm glad that you were able to join us on a very short notice, all the way from South Carolina.
Yeah,
and
man.
come hang out with us. So I
And,
hope
you
you
know,
enjoyed it.
I think it's been cool getting a different perspective. Everyone we've had on the show so far is like metalheads like us. You do have like the rock and the punk and everything like that, but it's interesting getting a different perspective from like a different genre of music, dealing with the music industry and the way that you deal with it, and things like that. So
For sure.
I appreciate you coming on,
And
man.
so, like, hey, thanks for having me on the show, guys. And, it's been a very interesting conversation. I really appreciate it. And, follow me on YouTube, follow me on Spotify, and
Give us the handles.
Mitchell T. Just Mitchell T, straight
All right,
up.
Mitchell T.
And, keep up because I'm releasing Look Around next Friday. So
Hell
Let's
yeah,
go.
dude, let's
Hell
go.
yeah.
Hell yeah.
All right, so make sure you give Mitchell a follow. Make sure you give us a follow at TSIS Podcast on all social media platforms. Check out our Patreon if you want to binge our content and get access to all our bonus content.
Definitely check our OnlyFans if you get a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. I see Preston's ass on there. So. Appreciate each and every one of you guys. Thank you. We love you so much. And until next time, we are the Screaming Idiots.
Peace, love, dove.